The Retro Buzz starts right after this.
Hey guys, it's Friday, so you know what time it is. It's time for the Retro Buzz. And before we get into anything, we want to thank Arcade 1UP. They came on as a sponsor, and you guys know we have the arcades. So let's take you and show you a little bit about it. And we want to thank Arcade 1UP for their support. Now, kind of move along here. We've got Mr. Douglas Smith, Cool Toy himself. You still didn't get a haircut yet.
Still no haircut. Still not wearing a hat. Just proving to people that I do, in fact, have hair and a scalp underneath the hat, because people always assume that it's attached. But yeah, still no haircut. Haven't even shaved. I'm looking scruffy as always.
Awesome, awesome. And we also have Mr. Glen Planamento. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Retro Buzz.
That thing just doesn't get old, does it?
It really doesn't. I mean, Glenn just created a top 40 hit, like right there. That's all you need to do these days.
Well, it is better than most of the stuff that we see on TV, right? And here.
Absolutely.
Yep, and unlike Doug, I am wearing a hat because I don't want to blind you with my bald head. So there we go.
And we also have a special guest with us. We've got Mr. Jim Drew from cbmstuff.com. Welcome, sir.
Hey, how are you?
Well, it's great to have you here. And I know Glenn has been just reveling in all this. He's been waiting for you to get on.
Once again, yeah. I'm a little schoolgirl once again. So Jim Drew used to have another company called Utilities Unlimited back in the 90s, where he did a lot of stuff for the Commodore 64 and the Amiga. He made things like the Sybil, which was a hardware disk copy. You know, games back then had a lot of hardware copy protection on the floppies. He also made the M-Plant board, which was a Commodore emulator, a Mac emulator, and also had a PC emulator for it. And it was really cool, you know, running Mac software faster than a Mac on a similar machine. And he makes new things today, like the SuperCard Pro here, which I happen to have one right here. And this little device lets you do is it actually lets you connect a floppy drive to it, and you could do what's called the magnetic flux copy. So even if there's copy protection on there, it doesn't matter. It makes an exact duplicate of the disk. And it does all these different formats, Amiga, IBM, TI, and you can also archive them. So instead of, you know, making a copy to a floppy, don't copy that floppy, was the old saying. But you can also back it up to like an SD card and make copies of it. So, and Jim, I know, has been also tinkering with making little modifications to the Arcade 1UP. Hopefully we can go into a little bit about that as well and see what Jim's been doing. So Jim, thanks for coming on to the Retro Buzz.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, real quick, just so people can get more of a background on you than my blabbing mouth, you want to tell us a little bit how you got started with the whole thing? I mean, you obviously did stuff with the Amiga and the Commodore 64 back then. Was that your first forte into making products, or was there something before that?
In 1977, believe it or not, my dad was friends with people at Commodore, and I don't know what the real association is. I need to ask him. He's still alive, so. But I know that he knew the people back in the 70s because he was a museum director and curator, and he was getting Commodore office furniture. If you didn't know that, they made desks and calculators, things like that. He ended up getting a Commodore PET 2001 when they were first released. And so it was brought home, and I was probably 12 years old, I think, at the time. And he said, here, write the software to, keep track of 1 million items in a museum using an 8K machine one with cassette tape. So obviously that wasn't something that's going to happen. But I learned, programming on it. And so a few years later, I started actually making some products for PET computers. And that's kind of where I got started. And then in '83, I worked for Commodore in Portland, Oregon, and for about 8-9 months before I went on my own and started doing software and hardware.
You actually were working at Commodore for a while. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there's a company called Computron Business Systems in downtown Portland, Oregon, and it was headquarters for Commodore Service. And so my first job there was at Commodore Service. And then I started handling some of the educational accounts for the state of Oregon for all the school districts. So because I knew the Commodores pretty well, and so they say, hey, would you figure out how many computers you need for this school and all this stuff? So I kind of did that as well. But the Commodore Service job was my first real job, and that was an interesting time because that's when we were replacing motherboards and Sparkle infected 64s and aligning disk drives and all kinds of stuff like that.
So then after that, you did a Steve Wozniak, and you left Commodore to start Utilities Unlimited. Is that what happened?
Well, no, geez, Utilities Unlimited was a long, long story. So what happened is that I started writing some disk copying software and started marketing it. And as people approached me saying, hey, would you like to, have us sold under our company? I was like, all right, we'll see how that goes. And of course, that didn't go so well. And then a company called Megasoft, which was a popular company back in the day, they contacted me, and I ended up doing a whole bunch of stuff for them. I did, like 60 different programs like that for them. And that company ended up turning into Utilities Unlimited. There was a product that they had purchased called the Shadow, which was kind of it was a fiasco. And it tainted their reputation so bad that he did a nice corporate shift and made Utilities Unlimited, and then shortly thereafter he sold it. And so keeping me on board, the new owners gave me a percentage of the company, and that's pretty much how I was with Utilities Unlimited at that point. And then we moved to Arizona from Oregon in 1991. So ever since then we're doing stuff for the Amiga. It's kind of funny because we moved from 91, that was kind of at the tail end of the Commodore 64 era. And so we were on the fence, like, what do we do? Because we were already doing Amiga stuff. We had done SuperCard for the Amiga, and like you said, we were doing, we hadn't done Sybil yet. Sybil it was an Arizona product. But there was like Kickstarter board and a switcher and things like this we had done for the Amiga. But we were thinking, what should we do next? So it was basically a coin toss between a Nintendo cartridge copier or a new Amiga product. And after the owners contacted Nintendo, we did Amiga.
Sure, that was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, it was quick too. I'm sure it was like a 5-minute job. Like okay. Because I remember the owner, she was a lady, and her husband owned the company, and she's like, okay, well, we're doing Amiga. So yeah, so then we ended up moving to Arizona, and gosh, there's such a long history of Utilities Unlimited with the things that we did. It's like Sybil. Do you know the history behind Sybil at all, Glenn?
I don't know the history about it. I know I owned it, and I know I was using it, but I don't know the history of it.
I wanted to be able to read and write every kind of disk format there was. And Macintosh disks, the 400 and 800K floppy drives, are variable speed drive. And so you can't read them with a stock Amiga. But I figured out that if you use the Genlock port, which is the video port on the Amiga, you can take over the timing of the computer, and then I can adjust the clock of the entire computer. And so I could change the frequency which PALA, which is the disk control it runs at, so I can actually read and write any of the variable speed zones on the Mac floppy, which was great. It also allowed us to do imaging of software for the first time. So we could actually do a disk image and keep it on your hard drive instead of having to make floppies with floppies, So it's kind of like Supercar Pro is now. We can have images. So a guy named Joe Fenton, he contacted me and said, hey, I would like to try to integrate this into AMAX. And I'm like, well, I'm already looking at it right now because I like to do the same thing. So we collaborated on some stuff, and I was able to make some patches, and he helped make patches for it. And so I could actually read and write through AMAX directly on an Amiga floppy drive.
Real quick, AMAX was a ReadySoft product that you connected to your Amiga to read and run Macintosh software, black and white Mac Classic software, right?
Mac Plus, right. And they had an actual interface that plugged into the disk drive port, had ROMs, and it required a real Mac floppy drive to run.
Right.
So you could write. But I wanted to use the Amiga drive. Now, ReadySoft is in the real ReadySoft, like Dragon's Lair and all that stuff. So it's the same company. And so, make a long story short, ReadySoft contacted us and said, hey, we'd like to license this and have you make them for us. And so it's okay, great. We'll make a bunch of them that you guys can detect in your software. And that way they have to purchase the new version of AMAX. They just can't use the old one. It's like, to make money on the deal. And so we came into this agreement, got everything done, had the first 1,000 units sitting there. And then ReadySoft said, we're not interested anymore. You can just keep them.
Ouch.
Burn.
What?
And I thought, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So that's how Implant became to be. I was so mad about what ReadySoft had done.
I'll show you guys.
I said, I'm going to make a full color multitasking Macintosh simulation. And so I talked to Joe again. I said, hey, you know the Mac pretty good. How would you like to come out here into Arizona and we'll work on this project and we'll kick the crap out of ReadySoft? He said, okay. So that's how Implant came to be. It had nothing to do with anything other than basically revenge on ReadySoft.
And you know what? I'm glad I just heard this story, Jim, because I remember there was a huge thing with ReadySoft and you guys, they were pissed. So this is the backstory I didn't know. So they actually ordered this product from you guys, shafted you for it, and you came back with a product that was 10 times better, easily 10 times better than they had. Full color Mac, multitasking system.
Right. Yep. And it would be another year before they would release AMAX 4, which was their color version. And that I don't think they ever got multitasking.
Well, it sucked.
But you know what? I had a lot of respect for Simon Douglas because we looked at his code, of course, to find out if he was taking stuff from us. And it wasn't. It was all his stuff. So I was pretty impressed with the fact that, but he obviously knew Mac anyway because he did the first one. So I was pretty impressed with that there was no theft going on with that. Unlike later people with emulations and stuff. So shifting some shapes, perhaps? Yeah. That's in fact, the first time we looked at that, I actually talked to Simon Douglas about that and said, well, 60% of your code is in another product right now. So you might want to talk to them about it.
Ouch.
The other 40 is mine. Yeah, so so we all live and learn.
Yep, there was a program, a freeware program called Shapeshifter that was released, and it turned out that it was a freeware program, but the code was kind of borrowed from other places, shall we say?
Yeah. So we got an attorney involved in the whole 9 yards, but so we learned, unfortunately, that unlike today, it's very difficult to go after anybody overseas. Back in the the 90s, so there was a company that actually stole my SuperCard Amy hardware and software in the UK, and they relabeled it as Mac 2, and which is kind of funny. And we actually took them to court. And we won, and
nice.
But we got literally what we got out of it was $50,000 worth of attorney bills, and we got a box of about $1,800 worth of product, and that was the recourse and thing. And so by that time the damage had already been done. With software and hardware, software mostly, but even with hardware to an extent, there's a window of opportunity to sell things in, and so we were outside that window anyway. So it basically killed us, and that's kind of what happened with the Shapeshifter thing too. Is it kind of killed us, but I look at it in the end, we were at the end of Commodore anyway, and it was all going downhill, and we had moved over to the PC platform, and we had made Fusion after Utilities Limited had gone away in '96, and so we made Fusion for the Amiga, then we made Fusion for the PC, and so.
And just so you know, so our audience knows, Fusion was also a Mac emulator, but that was now made for the PC.
Yeah, so Fusion was originally made for the Amiga. So after Utilities Unlimited went out of business because of this shapeshifter and all this other, basically the end of the Amiga anyway, we moved the code over to the PC. And so we made a PC version of Fusion, which was the latest and greatest Mac emulator for the PC. And it was really, really popular, especially in Japan, because Apple didn't have any small Macs. Their laptops were huge still. And so there was, Sony had a Vaio that was very small, and Toshiba had a little machine called Libretto, and it was the size of a VHS tape, literally, with a flip-up screen. And it was hugely popular in Japan because it was so small. And so you could run Fusion on it, and you could run all of your Mac software on your little tiny Libretto. And it was so popular that we released the demo version on downloads.com, which was relatively new back then. And we crashed their server in the first day.
Nice.
Had 1 million downloads in the first day. Yeah,
Because it worked so well. I mean, PC running a Mac, so for people that think that was possible, and it did, and it ran well.
Yeah, it did. It ran really well. In fact, it ran faster than any Mac you could run on a standard, like a Libretto size CPU. So it ran good. So I guess if you're into Mac productivity like that, like they are, I mean, I went to Macworld a couple of times promoting it for a company called Open Technologies that was a distributor there for it. And I was amazed, actually, at the response to that product in Japan.
So where's your education from? I mean, what did you go to school for? Because obviously you're very talented, not only on the hardware end, but the software end. So where did you get your education for everything?
Radio Shack, and schooling, of course. But it's one of the things that...
Now, I'm sorry, Jim, for once again, for people that know what Radio Shack is, it was a store that you go to buy electronics, okay? It's like the Toys R Us for geeks, okay?
Right, yeah, pretty much.
Our stereo, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Forrest Mims books when I was a young kid, and then of course into high school and college stuff. But I kind of wish I would have stayed a little more in schooling and got a master's. But then again, I mean, literally, I started working right out of high school, so it's one of those things I just was constantly working, and I've not stopped since then. Really, I've never taken much of a break. Can ask my wife. Yeah, still every day at 3:30 in the morning when I go to bed, working on stuff.
Long hours.
Yeah, but I do a lot of different things. So I do a lot of contract stuff, and like I said, I've got a real full-time day job, which is doing contract work and running a company that does UAV products. So that's what I got into later on. So.
And you have I know we've talked a couple times in the past. You're always running the other way, and I keep finding you, and you run and you duck and you curve, but I always find you, Jim. So we were talking one time. And, you said, okay, Glenn, I can't run anymore. Just ask you a question. And you were working on some newer stuff, like the arcade one-ups. Do you have anything you want to talk to about that?
Yeah, I mean, I did a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's literally, I have boards done sitting here in boxes I could actually ship. I just have been busy with doing a bunch of stuff. So for the arcade one-up, I did, for the original ones, like arcade Asteroids and all those original ones with the first boards they had out, there was an issue with using USB, and so we could have a serial interface for it. So I actually made a USB interface board for it that lets you have the keyboard function. One of the things you had to do is you had to power off and then plug the thing in and then power back up and all that. It drove me nuts. That drove me nuts personally immediately. So that's pretty much how everything I make, it comes to be anyways, that I need something. So I made an interface that, you can hot plug a keyboard into or any kind of USB device, and it powers up immediately. So I did that.
That was for the 12-in-1. We try to access the main menu type of thing. And do that little.
Right.
So this is the guy that showed the video of soldering the USB cable to the board.
Well, no, see, I made mine a little smarter than that. I've seen that before. So my board, I should have gotten one. My board basically is a little tiny board, and it has 4 holes in it that are round, that are just happen to be the right size to sit over top of the USB little connector where you've got to solder those normally. And so my cable is soldered to this board, and then you lay this over top of it, and then you simply just put a solder block, blip, 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 and it's done.
I like
So you don't
simple.
have to do that. Yeah, simple's good.
That other guy that was doing it kind of made me nervous because it's like I was waiting for him to like solder everything together, but yours sounds simpler. You could just drop it on the back.
It was cool too because with the Arcade 1-Up stuff, they put those 4 pads for the USB on the edge of the board.
Yeah.
Close to the edge of the board. So literally when I made the board so that it just drops in place, so it can't shift left or right, it just sits in place and you've got solder blobs. And the easiest way to do it actually is to put a small blob on each one of those little pads, put this on top of it, and just heat each one of them when you're done. So you don't have a problem with solder dripping on the board someplace or like an excessive amount. Because that's the problem with the cabling is you're trying to put solder, hold a cable, you got to stand on one foot and wax on the side of your car, sacrifice the chicken and
hold your breath. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is a lot easier.
Being an engineer, if you don't burn your fingers on a soldering iron, you never. That's your passage, right?
No,
that's your rite of passage.
No. See, I got over that a long time ago. That's like when I'm coding now, it just drives me nuts. Like, we used to be all command line jockeys back in the day, right? For everything. Oh man, everything to me has got to be GUI interface or I can't do it. I just can't stand typing anymore. I mean, I type enough for doing code. I don't want to have to learn 5 million little pieces of code fragments you got to type into a command line to compile something. Yeah. So I'd rather just push a button and it's done. So, now my build products, it better be like super duper foolproof because I think the reason why I've learned that is because the technical support. Because I learned that if you make something like that, your tech support is like non-existent really.
Yeah.
Like the big companies would have non-existent customer service.
What companies?
Yeah, any big company.
Oh.
I'm going to tell you right now, I have Cablevision, which is Optimum out here. You call them, first you're on hold for like half an hour. Then when you get someone, you can't understand them.
Right.
And they're like, hold please. Don't put me on hold. I've been on hold for like 2 hours already. And they just disconnect you, so it's whatever.
Right. Yeah, so I learned that really back with the Amiga stuff because when I designed the implant board, I designed it literally, and we showed this at actually trade shows, Pasadena, and also in New York City. New York City was a good one. So we had a Amiga 4000 open, and I was plugging the implant board in and pulling it out with power on constantly.
Yeah, I remember that. Our people were freaking out.
And so I'm like, look, if you can't build a product that can do this, then you're going to have a technical support nightmare because that's really what happens. And so on that premise, let me tell you a quick story about a tech support on the implant board that I thought was kind of funny. So this guy called and I went through this information on this guy and all the stuff he had. And it's like, okay, 2 hours spent on the phone with this guy trying to figure out why we couldn't get his Mac to run. And I finally said, look, there's got to be something wrong with the board. And let's just send the board back, take it out of your computer, send it back, and we'll give you another board. He goes, well, it's not been put in the computer yet. I was like, what? He goes, oh, I want to see if the software works before I put the board in. And so I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. So it's one of those things where at that point in my life, I was like, yeah, I really need to like work on things a little bit better to reduce my headache when it comes to this stuff. And the implant board was one of the first things I had done where literally I had buffered it so you could pull it in and out constantly. It wouldn't cause a problem with it. And everything I build nowadays is that way. So like all my CBM stuff, all my UAV products, everything that we manufacture, we offer a lifetime warranty, period. So because I know that it's that good of a product, it's not going to get destroyed by user error.
I have these and they haven't broken yet. So that's a testament.
There you go. There's a testament right there.
It's a testimony because Glen would have normally broke it by now.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And there's probably been fire involved, the police department, and a lot of things happen.
Yep.
Yep. They know me. They all know me around here. So I usually steal all the time here. Do you guys have to say anything you want to talk about? Or am I going to keep babbing? Because I can keep babbing.
No, I had a question for Jim. So,
yeah.
Jim, you're a bit of a Renaissance man. You said you've kind of dabbled in all sorts of things, and I saw in your profile that you mentioned working with NASA and Hollywood studios and things like that, special effects department. You want to give us a little backstory and history on those type of things?
Sure. So, because of the implant board, we got to end with Hollywood. So, the implant board's a Macintosh emulation, and back in the day, so this is going to be early 90s, the most common, probably still today a little bit, means of doing post-production work was with what's called an Avid Video Studio.
Yep.
And that was run on a Macintosh.
Mm-hmm.
And so Avid Video Stations, the whole studios themselves, they were actually rented to production studios like Amblin Entertainment, other companies that were back in the day, smaller companies. And they had to spend like $20,000 a day to rent these studios for doing post-production work. Well, somebody figured out pretty quick that you could get an Amiga 4000 or a 3000 with an implant board, and you could run Avid video software substantially faster than you could on a real Mac. And so they started buying full Amiga systems just so they could do post-production work. And of course, they were already into that because of things like Babylon 5 and all that stuff they were doing, with Lightwave and the toaster and all that stuff. So it wasn't a foreign thing to them. It's just they didn't really know they could do Mac stuff so much. And so that's how I kind of got into that whole thing. So I ended up meeting a lot of people in Hollywood for post-production work. Tony Alderson was a good friend. He's passed away now. He's the guy that did special effects for like Last Action Hero and stuff like that. So if you take a look at, there's a couple movies. Cyber Tracker is one that's got credits for the implant board and me in it. And there's a couple of them smaller movies too that Tony had worked on as well. And so they actually use implant boards quite a bit with Mac to run Avid Video Studios. So, and the NASA stuff is dealing with, well, it's funny that, so NASA kind of goes back to 1987 or 88 when they were first working on the Mars rover project. And they had asked me a bunch of questions about the Amiga for doing multitasking and stuff, because unbeknownst to me until later, they actually used the Amiga 500 for doing some of the test coding for the wheels when they were doing separate tasks for each one of the wheels for the rover. So that was an interesting thing. That's my introduction to them. And then later on with the UAV industry, I've done some stuff with them as well.
So basically, they're using Amigas to run Mac software better than on the Macs. And then NASA is using Amigas as well.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah.
I did not know it could be this way. It was faster than a Macintosh, running its own native software, and still multitasking with the Amigas. Is that what you did? Is this shit telling me here?
Yeah, it's amazing, huh? Who knew?
Yeah, I wish
Not
somebody.
to me, but to my two co-hosts, I hope it is.
Yeah, well, I wish somebody would have told my college professor that, because I was formerly trained on Avid in college on a Macintosh.
Oh,
I hate
it. Yeah. So yeah, so because of I replaced a lot of the Mac OS because some of it was required to get it sort of be cooperative with the Amiga. So the thing that was focused on a lot was the mathematics in the Mac. So they've got it's called Pac 4 and Pac 5, which is their transcendental math functions, and those are used for doing cosine, cosine, all the different types of trigonometric functions and such. And so those got replaced with routines that called the FPU directly. And so if you take a look at benchmark programs like speedometer and stuff, you're going to find that our math scores are like huge compared to a real Mac. And so those were actually used on, things like Photoshop, KTP Bryce for rendering, Avids, any kind of thing dealing with rendering or ray tracing or basically anything to move data on the screen even was going to be hugely accelerated. And so they found that, with, Avid systems, they could actually run it smoother, faster than a real Mac would, even like the Quadra 840 AV, which was the premier machine for doing the Avid system was that. And so if you had an Amiga 4000, you basically had faster than the Avid system on the 840 AV, which is a 40 megahertz of 40, when the 4000 is only 25 megahertz of 40. So a huge difference in performance-wise. So, those guys, if you're spending literally $20,000 a day for renting a studio, and now you switched over to buy, 2 or 3 Amigas with toasters and, fully maxed out for that, price for one day, obviously it makes good financial system for them, and they could also reuse the system over and over again for every project they had. So Hollywood used Amiga a lot. NASA used it a lot, as we know. We've seen systems pop up on eBay and stuff that were property of NASA, and some backstories on those. There's a lot of people that used them and that knew. It just, unfortunately, because of Commodore's management, that level of knowledge for everybody. Didn't really get out there, unfortunately. Apple knew about it because
they didn't want anybody else to know about it.
Yeah, Apple knew about it. Actually,
this show is here to chronicle this information. That's what it's here about. You're getting information out that people didn't know.
Your voice changer's still on.
Voice changer's on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Your voice changer's still on.
I was that excited, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
Why,
again, Glenn.
Go ahead, do that again. Say whatever you're saying.
I was just going to say that, that's the whole point of this show, is to kind of chronicle the information that would have been lost until the meteor comes down and wipes out the internet, because we get all wiped out from a meteor. But the knowledge you're sharing here is stuff that was basically lost more or less to history. Like I said, Apple knew, and that's why Apple kept coming after you guys to kind of squish you, because you were basically giving a better Mac experience than on a Mac. Hollywood was using it cheaper. They had Babylon 5. They had Sequest. They had a lot of shows that used the Amiga. Films used the Amiga. And like I said, it was used a lot more than people realized, because it was inexpensive, extremely high performance, and it was multitasking.
Yeah. So people ask me, what did Apple think about you? And literally, I went to Apple. I went to Cupertino, and I met with John Scully and the group of engineers there. And they full well knew about Implant, of course. And my pitch was I wanted to license the ROMs, really, for the machines. And their only concern, really, at Apple were two things. One was the perceived value of what we were doing. Were we actually tarnishing the Apple's name because of the fact that we had maybe some problems running certain software or something? So that was their big concern. The second concern was speed-wise. They wanted to make sure that we weren't making the Mac seem to be a slow machine. And so I quickly addressed those concerns, saying, well, I said, you've got a Quadra, you've got a Centris, you've got Mac 2, Mac 2 CX, SI, CI. You've got all these different models, and your operating system is catered to every single one of those models specifically. And our system's got a better compatibility than what you have, because I can run all of those operating systems and ROMs on one board. And so that ended that whole thing. It's compatibility-wise, so we can run more software than any single Mac model, period. And speed-wise, then of course I brought up the benchmarks. So they can't argue with either one of those facts. But I was surprised. They did not try to suppress it at all.
Because Steve Jobs wasn't there at the time, right?
No, he was gone. No, Scully was there. That's who I met with.
That's why Apple
exactly
sucked at the time.
Yeah.
Just call a spade a spade.
I guess I skated in the perfect time, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, they didn't actually try to suppress us. They didn't try to do anything. They didn't threaten, nothing. I was very surprised, actually. I was expecting to go there with, let out in handcuffs or something.
Yeah.
But
did they license the ROMs to you?
Oh, no. Oh, no. They're like, no, we're never going to do that. So good luck with that. And so what was interesting is that Apple service centers at the time, they were making a gazillion dollars because they were charging outrageous amounts for ROMs. They were charging like $400 for a set of ROMs. Our board was only $299, and so it was like more for the ROMs than the board. And then Apple put the hammer down on service centers. They were not allowed to sell any ROMs anymore at all. So they were trying to squish it that way. And so, but the problem was with that is that literally you could put in a SIM, because we had dip sockets and SIM sockets on the implant board. So you could literally dump any Mac model. So you could go to, your local, refurb store and buy a Mac 2, which was pretty inexpensive at the time, and you could get ROMs out of it. You buy the whole machine for $100 instead of, spending, $400 set of ROMs. So they really couldn't do anything about it. The cat was out of the bag, because I talked to Apple probably 8 months or so after Implant got released. So it was quite a long time before I actually had a meeting with them. So,
who was the, aside from like NASA, who were the big people buying the Implant board? It sounds like a lot of companies. I didn't think about that. I know people like me were buying it, but I didn't realize actual companies were buying them.
Yeah, we saw a lot of companies. And then there was a company, gosh, I don't remember, Creative Computers. Remember them back in the day?
Yes, I sure do.
Okay. So we sold a lot of implant boards to them, and they were actually going and selling to other companies. And so Creative is a bunch of that were working out the deal with Commodore and us. So Commodore was scared to death of Apple. Okay, and I think Apple might have done something had Commodore actually licensed this thing. But so Commodore, I might have met with John DeLulu, who was the CEO of Commodore back then, and this was 90, I think 3 or 94, 94, no 93, and we worked out a deal where there would be an implant A4000 bundle from Commodore as a Commodore product, and it would be sold to studios and things like that needed them, and Commodore chickened out at the last second, but Creative Computers did not. So Creative Computers offered a 4000 implant combo, and they sold a lot of them. We sold a lot of boards to them, and they went to various companies. Now I don't know where they all went because I really didn't get much in the way of tech support from people, because it seemed to be okay. By the time that we were up at that stage when the 4000 was working with it and stuff. But I think that I sold thousands of boards. I don't know how many we sold total. I stopped taking count at. We used to hand write on every implant board the number. And one day I was in helping write out boards. When I got to 10,000, I quit. I didn't do it anymore. So I have no idea how many past 10,000 we sold, but we sold a lot of the implant boards.
And if I remember right, the Mac software was on one 880K floppy, right?
Back in the day, yeah, it was. And on the original OS, the 6 point whatever, the early 6s. And then it was just like the PC with Windows, where you've got 3 floppies, and then it's 5 floppies, and it's 11 floppies, and then now it's a CD because you can't put it on enough floppies. So OS 8.1 is an installer CD, and they have what's called the Universal Install CD, which was smart finally. That has every system software for every Mac model instead of having a different system software for every Mac that was out there, which is crazy. That's what Apple really did. People don't get that, which is the biggest headache I had with the Mac emulation for tech support was whatever ROM you put into the system, you had to have the exact same Mac system software. So if you had a Mac 2 CI ROM, you had to have Mac 2 CI system software. You couldn't run a Mac 2X or a Mac 2 SI or any other type of system software. It wasn't compatible. You had to have a matching set. And finally, Apple got smart, I think because of their own technical support, woes, that they made a universal installer that you just say, install for everything, and it did. Of course, it wasted a lot of disk space, but who cares back, then really. You've got bigger hard drives now.
Now, have you done anything with more like newer systems? Sega Genesis, you said you were going to do an NES cart, but that didn't happen. Did you do anything more in the gaming field?
No. I actually was a beta tester for the PlayStation 1 for the US market. In fact, that was kind of neat actually, because I got it from Japan, obviously, and I had mine about 6 months or so before we got them in the US. So I did some testing, but that was about my only real extent into gaming as far as that goes. I'm not much of a gamer. So my son's a gamer. He's like one of these online wizards that gets watched on Twitch and stuff.
So you got a game of choice that he prefers, or?
I don't have a clue what it is today. So back when he was in high school, he was doing League of Legends and various different things. So I know he went through a Fortnite phase, and so he didn't do the Call of Duty thing though, which is kind of surprising. But so I don't know what he's doing now. I'll have to ask him. In fact, he might be watching. So
He's probably sitting there going, like, "Really, Dad? Really?" He's like, "You don't know what I play?"
No clue. He's a senior at ASU this year, so he's to finish school. So I have no idea.
So he has plenty of time to play video games.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's what we always found in college.
It's funny, it's interesting that he learned that first year of college is all play, second year is kind of play, third year is kind of play. This last year, he's like, holy mackerel, I actually have to do work now.
Yeah, got to play catch up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, play catch up. So that's where he is now, and I'm assuming that he's probably playing some new fangled game that I've never heard of before.
So Jim, you actually have a question here that we have pulled up here. It says from Cami. I wonder how Jim felt about Shapeshifter being able to run Mac OS on an Amiga without any additional hardware.
Yeah, I'm actually sending her a text on that because she's definitely much open to translate. But Jim.
Okay, so I made Fusion, which is the same thing, and but it could use the implant board if you had it. And so the implant board itself was like part of a real Mac. Basically, I had the same VIAs that a Mac has, the same serial chip, the same SCSI chip. So I had a lot of Mac hardware, on it. So you could run faster as a result of that. So if you had an implant board running my Fusion software, it runs faster than any kind of software-only solution because you can pawn off a lot of the hardware responsibilities onto the board itself. So, but how I felt about it? Well, obviously, how I felt about it. So, so.
And actually, on that implant board, you threw basically the kitchen sink on that board, right? You had timers, you had relay, all this stuff on that board.
Yeah, there was 3 VIA chips, and the Mac used 2, and there's a third one we put on there, and we actually used it for the PC emulation as well. So there's timers on there, there's a SCSI interface, there's a serial interface for the 85C30s, which is the AppleTalk ports, and then we made Amiga-sided devices for that. So we ran a BBS for Utilities Unlimited on an Amiga 2000 with an implant board, and it was a 2-line BBS, and I was able to run each modem off of each one of the ports on that board, which was great. So, 2 people calling at the same time. Woo!
Right. And actually, you also had the Apple serial ports on the back. So you could technically connect the implant Amiga to an actual Apple network, right? You had Apple ports.
Absolutely. Yeah, AppleTalk. Yeah, and that's one of the things that they had done in the studios, of course, is that they had run all the machines tied together to real Macs as well, and so they could share their data between everybody. And at some point, I know that they have, much like they did with the Lightwave software, where they had redistributive rendering, they could actually have parts of it being rendered by one machine and another machine and another machine, and they all get pulled back into the master type of thing. So yeah, the AppleTalk ports worked, and they were high speed for back in the day. They were 230 kilobaud, which was fast back then.
Was that your biggest, I guess, hardware project and sales product? Because I know you made Sybil, you got the SuperCard Pro, you have all those other things you made. Was the implant board like the pinnacle product you guys had done, sold the most, had the most, praise, if you will?
Yeah, probably. As far as monetary goes, as far as how much money we spent, how much money we got, yeah, definitely implant, because it was an expensive piece of hardware. They were costing us a bunch of money to make, and we were making a lot of money on them as well. So as far as revenue is concerned, yeah, implant board was probably the biggest. As far as volume, no. SuperCard definitely was the most. And SuperCard for the 1541 back in the Commodore days, the 64 days, was also the most. We sold 50-some thousand of those that I know of, because I started kind of keeping track back then as well. So there's a lot of hardware. Nowadays, I mean, it's a decent business with CBM stuff. I mean, I have a lot of new old stock product though too. Like I still have original SuperCard Plus boards from back in the day, and people still buy them, which is neat, And it's kind of funny how I got back into this whole thing. So we were talking before we were on air about a little bit of history and stuff. So I'll touch on that real quick. Basically from 1983 until about 2001, my full-time day job was developing Commodore hardware and software. That's what I did every single day. And so that's what I was paid to do. And so from 2001 to about 2005 or so, 2006, I played paintball professionally. I traveled the world and played paintball. And I developed electronics for all the different markers that are out there, and electronics for the hoppers and stuff like that. And then I'd always been an RC guy. And so when the UAV industry started really picking up in about 2004, 2005, I got asked to join in doing some projects, and that kind of snowballed into a company that I'm created that develops UAV products right now. That's my full-time day job, really, is that. And so that's kind of a little bit of a history of where I've been. And so nowadays, man, I got back into this only because of the theft aspect of things again, unfortunately. In 2012, I got an email from somebody saying, hey, I'd like to get the software for your SuperCard Plus board that I just got on eBay. I was like, oh, interesting. I'm curious to see, what they're worth now. And it turns out that somebody had been, from the UK, had been producing and selling SuperCard Plus boards for years and selling on eBay. And
wow.
So when I found that out, of course, then I got to get an attorney and got to go through the whole thing. And so they were quick, though. I basically sent an email and said, stop. I said, okay. And then that was it. And then so I started looking at the market again. I thought, you know what?
I wish that would work for me. I got
Oh, and
people
I'll tell
pulling
you,
my spinners and trackballs, man, and we can't stop them at all.
Yeah, I was stunned actually. And so I started looking into it again, and I thought, maybe I should dabble a little bit back in this again. I'm not so burned out anymore, because I spent almost 30 years doing it. It's a long time to be doing this stuff. And so I got back into it, and then I really got back into it. And it's like one of those things that with Commodore, for whatever reason, no matter how far you try to go away from it, it just sucks you back in. It's like this vortex, So from 1977 until today, still, it's Commodore's, part of my life.
And you definitely with Commodore line, you do anything ever with the Atari line, or no?
No, my only exposure to Atari, nothing with the 400, 800 ever, other than playing some games at the local Toys R Us one day. They had a demo set up. Star Raider, I think, is what I was playing, which was kind of neat. The Atari ST, I started looking at a little bit, and then it turns out that their disk drive controller is integrated. It's a WD-1772 chip, which is IBM PC type of chip. And I was like, there's no way to really make something that's going to be easy to make and inexpensive to make. So I opted not to do that. Ironically, though, the Atari ST user group was good friends with the Amiga user group because the Amiga people could copy everything Atari ST. So that's why they were friends. But no, I really didn't sway too much. The PC was about as far away as I got, from Amiga stuff and from Commodore stuff in general. I just don't have any desire to work on anything else. I'm not a big fan of Linux stuff at all. I have used it quite a bit recently because it's easier now than it was back in the day. Because, like I said, I refuse to be a command line jockey anymore. So now with all the Raspbian and stuff like that, I like that stuff. So it's usable for me now.
How did you feel when Commodore basically overnight was gone?
Well, it was overnight for a lot of people. It certainly wasn't overnight for us. We knew long before. You talk to anybody in Commodore, you talk to Dave Haney and Bill Hurd and Carolyn Shuttner and all the people that I dealt with back in the day. Everybody knew it was coming, and it wasn't like some big shock. The big shock was how long it lasted, actually. So that, to me, was something that had to happen because you just couldn't strain it on anymore. And I was hoping though that somebody like SCOM, development, would get it and then run with it, but nobody was able to pick it up and actually proceed with it. And it's unfortunate because we all know it's a great operating system, and I can imagine today how the Amiga would actually be more like how Mac OS is as far as usability and things like that. And I don't know, it's just an unfortunate thing. Multitasking, it's such groundbreaking stuff they had back in the day, and all the engineers were very good people at thinking of future-proofing things. And so it's unfortunate to me. I like to have seen Dave Haney and Bill and all those guys had an opportunity to move forward with a new platform, and I just can only imagine how good it would be today if they were still doing it. So it's an unfortunate thing for all of us, really, as humans.
As a species, like kids say, we'll never know what that machine has. It does suck.
Yeah. Instead, you're stuck, having to learn Avid Video on a real Mac.
Yeah. It was terrible. It was terrible. I hated every minute of it. I did.
Sorry, I'm looking through the chat here.
That's okay. I would say with things are now, do you have any future plans, any new products you're working on that you can maybe tell us about, or it's just really you're just maintaining what you have at the moment?
Well, during this little lapse of a judgment of people out there running around getting infected with COVID, I've been staying home. And as a result of that, I have 11 brand new products that I've done or finished that I can actually go to market with for Commodore stuff, which is good. My problem is, Glenn, you know this from my experience in history as well as other things, I do a lot of things all the time. And when I get sidetracked with something, that thing stays on a burner somewhere, right? And then that stays on a burner, and that stays on a burner. So I got lots of fires everywhere. And so during this time of lockdown, I was able to go back and finalize a lot of these things, which is good for me because it's one of the things that I don't like, but it happens. If you're an engineer and you get drawn away from one thing to the other, or the market shifts, there's a lot of reasons why you do these things, or you sell it. And that's the biggest downfall for me from the public's eye, I think, in a way, is that there's a lot of products that I've done that I just sold just to get rid of because I was tired of dealing with it or whatever. And so, oh man, the animosity I get for doing that. I mean, it's a good business decision on my part, but some things I've done that in the past, like, oh, I get hell for that. But that's just part of doing business. In the end, what I had done before really was a business, and that was my livelihood. And so you've got to make decisions that are hard for maybe some of your people that you deal with, but you have to do those things. So I hope to finish up more products. Maybe I'll go look back now. We've had this chat about the arcade one-up stuff, and maybe release that stuff out finally. I know people still want it because I still get emails from people. I had done some things like, well, you're the king of the spinners and joysticks and wheels and stuff like that. So, back then I was looking at doing some replacement stuff, but when I saw what you had done, it's like, oh, that's yours. I don't want to
you were actually working on a spinner replacement, weren't you?
I did. I had a spinner replacement. Yeah. Actually, the spinner replacement is not a big deal because what you did was nice, but the trackball replacement thing, because I had done was all machined and stuff. Machined with ball bearings, and I went all crazy because I'm a huge trackball junkie when it comes to like missile command and things like that. So my trackball has got to be perfect, right? So that's why I had done this, and so I had made prototypes, and I'd done all the CAD data for it, all stuff, and got quotes in the whole 9 yards. And then you did yours. I'm like, I don't know if anybody's gonna want an $80 trackball because it's whiz bang with 3 ball bearings per axis and all this stuff. But so I've done quite a few little things like that.
And it could have caused market confusion because we look so similar.
That's true.
Which device it was. And
I thought, yours is fine. Yours is way better than the stock stuff anyway, so that's perfect at that point. I'm finicky, and you're finicky too, which is why you did what you did. Obviously the stock spinner that they originally came with arcade one-up machines wasn't well thought out, I thought, maybe. But it
was a little misstep. But the one they replaced it with was great. The second version of it was great. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a real spinner instead of being a rotary encoder. But I understand why they did the rotary encoder thing. It's cheap, it's easy, and it works. And
well, they pulled it out of all those old TVs that went to the dump. They got the channel clicker thing, and they put it right in there. Right?
Yeah. When I first spun that thing, I went like this, and I went, and I thought, what on earth? And so then
chewing gum underneath this.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I had the machine upright and on for more than 2-3 minutes, and then before it was completely ripped apart. Figure out what the heck was going on.
When I turned that the first time, I thought my father was going to hit me saying, "You don't click the channels that quick. You go one at a time."
Oh.
Yeah, tell you what, your parents knew too when you're flipping too fast because that thing made a
Oh, damn. Bang. You got it all the time. One at a time. One at a time.
Yeah. Remember the old remotes too? Cling, make a big noise. Loud rattle. Oh, yeah.
Actually, we were ghetto. We never had the remotes. It was always, kid, get up, change the channel for me. That was the remote. Don't do it too quick.
So, yeah, if you do it too quick, you know what happens is that you end up with a TV with a pair of vice grips on that thing instead of the knob.
Yep. I remember that too. But you broke the plastic in the inside.
If you broke the knob off doing it too fast.
Yep.
100% had those.
Did you have
me down RCA TV for my parents, and the knob had been broken off. Not by me, thankfully, but they totally had grips for channel things, and that was my thing. Got to turn to channel 3 for some video games. Get the pliers.
That's right.
Those were the days. Well, those were the days. Kids, again, they miss out. They miss out.
So, Jim, before we got to wrap up, is there anything that you want to put out to the audience? I did pull up your website as you were talking. Anything that you really want to push?
Actually, there is something. So every year there's a Commodore event in the U.S. and it was called Convex originally, and kind of got taken over, and now it's called CRX, which is Commodore Retro Expo. And it actually is the largest gathering of Commodore people in the U.S. And we do it every year in Las Vegas. And this year we're going to do it virtually. And so if you go to crxevent.com, you can get information about it. It's going to be the last weekend of August. And I actually have got to update the website because it still shows that us being scheduled in the Las Vegas Hotel Casino at the Plaza. They've got a giant ballroom there. So yeah, you can see that's the website there. So I need to actually change that. There's information about last year. You can see some pictures of where we were last year, and it's a huge ballroom that we actually are in. And this year, I think it's going to be a lot different as far as the number of people goes. We get quite a few people that come from all over the world, literally, that come and do this. But I'm going to be presenting at Kansas Fest, which is the first time for me. It's an Apple event, Apple II. Don't boo me, everybody. Because I make a work with Apple II as well. I make a wireless modem, a Wi-Fi modem that works with any kind of computer. And so it's really popular with the Apple II crowd right now. And so their Kansas Fest right now, I just got an email from them, and they have 374 people that have registered already, that have paid and registered for this event online. It's a virtual event. So I have some pretty big hope for our virtual event that we can actually really have a lot of people in our event, from all over the world that would normally not be able to come, obviously, because of the distance and such. So it'll be a lot of fun. So check that out. Information, if the date's correct, the location obviously is not right. It'll be information online shortly about how we're going to do that. But I think that's something I really wanted to get out there because it's going to be a great event for everybody. And last year we did a hardware project which was phenomenal. There are two guys that come up with this. It's called the 64 Saver, and it's a cute little board shaped of a Commodore logo. And basically, it plugs in your 64 and it saves your 64 from getting destroyed. It monitors the voltage. And so if your power supply goes wacko, which is pretty common, it prevents your 64 from getting destroyed. So we had soldering stations set up at this event, and they actually built them as part of your entry, is that you got to one of these boards and you built it at the event. So we're going to do some kind of a hardware project that is done remotely. We're going to mail out to everybody ahead of the event so people can actually build them together online. And we'll have a bunch of different presentations from different people from all over the world. So it should be a lot of fun.
Awesome. And then they could stay in touch with you by going to cbmstuff.com.
Correct,
to
yep.
more information. Well, we really appreciate you coming on today and talking with us.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's great.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Glenn.
Same to you, Jim. I wish I still had the color in my hair, though. I mean, man, you look good.
Sharpie can fix that.
Yeah, there you go.
Sharpie's good.
There you go. There you go.
I'm actually pretty lucky. My dad actually has, he's 77. He's got dark hair still, too. It's pretty thrilled. So
yeah, you can see what I got from my dad, so.
Yeah, I got lucky. So I was trying to figure out, Glenn, how long have we actually known each other?
We've known each other, God, 90? I want to say 90.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It really has. And look, I haven't chased him away, or I tracked him down. He couldn't get away. One or the other.
Yeah. I'm actually remote.
Yeah. for specific reasons.
But Jim, you really are a good guy, and you're honest. And I really want to thank you for coming on the show. And again, anyone who has a machine that has a floppy drive, want to try and back up the stuff, the SuperCard Pro, it really is a really nice little device. It's not that expensive. I think it was about $199. Is that what this thing goes for?
Yeah.
And if you can't find it in Jim's inventory, send Glenn an email because he probably has 15 of them on his shelf that he might be willing to part with, right?
Well, I will say this. Jim, again, was very kind. He, to try and keep me away, he actually, he signed mine. If that's coming up okay, there we go.
Oh,
well, you don't want to give that one away then.
No.
Yeah, it's under my pillow every night. Kidding me?
Oh, the floppy disk fairy.
Oh, do you guys do any kind of a contest or anything for your program at all here?
Not at the moment, no.
Don't you like draw a number or like an email or anything like that at all? Because I was going to donate a SuperCard board to your program here.
Well, that'd be great. Because we treated this will probably do better, Jim. We did try it once. It was a date with me, and for some reason, nobody did it. I don't know why.
Yeah, it just.
Is that when Twitter got the first negative responses? Is that...
There we go.
Yeah. I unbroke the internet when that happened. Everyone went back on it and just left for me. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be happy to donate a SuperCard board for people that are watching. I'm not sure how you guys would do that, but I'll donate. do a
You can have
contest.
someone call in. You can have someone call in, like the
Yeah,
third
we can do a
caller or
trivia
something like
question.
that. Oh,
Trivia
that's even better.
Yeah, I was
See,
thinking,
listen, that's my cool toy. He's not just handsome. He's got good ideas.
Why don't you run a contest during the week and put it out on a video, and Glenn, that'll be good content for you to put together.
There you go.
I can do that.
Okay.
We're gonna think. What would be the question, Jim? You have a question, a trivia question that we can ask the community?
I don't know. Well, we'll think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll figure that out. Okay, we'll
Okay.
put it up on my page later. Deal.
Okay.
Because you gotta be able to stump them. Because if you just do it right here, right now,
Oh yeah, no. It's,
people are gonna, yeah.
We'll think of something.
Come on,
What
Glenn,
was the
dig
actual
deep back.
What was the actual percentage that the Amiga was faster than the Mac under emulation? No, I haven't, but how did the Amiga trounce the Mac?
And at that moment in time, we are going to wrap this up here, guys. Make sure you guys tune in. Yeah, because he's going to go down this rabbit
Only
hole.
Amiga made it possible, my friends.
He's here every Friday, guys. You can feel free to tune
Playing all the hits.
Absolutely. Guys, make sure you tune in next Friday. Glenn, who do we have next Friday? Oh, wait. We don't have a show next Friday.
Thursday.
We have it on Thursday. Yes. Yes.
Does it have something to do with being clean?
It's clean. Wait. Go this way.
It's clean.
We've got Mr. Bobby Vu joining us next Thursday, so make sure you guys tune in. The modding expert, dude gets into crazy, insane builds.
Oh, not only that, I got to tell you, he was working. He's going to be showing a couple of special projects he was making just for our show. It's going to be announced on our show. A few, and I've seen them, so I can't lie. But he's going to debut them next Thursday on our show.
Looking forward to it.
Same time, 6 p.m. We're just doing it a day early because of 4th of July. Everybody's going to be traveling for the weekend, so we wanted to get it on and going. But if you're not, and you just can't get enough of slapstick comedy along with arcade gaming, you can tune in to Legend Center every Wednesday, myself and P-Dubs. Here's a little taste, and we'll see you guys in the after show to talk about some MDA Jam.
Update, your Pixelcade marquee will be able to work natively with the games included on the At Games Legends Ultimate, Steven. That's right. So if you have a Pixelcade marquee, it will work with the At Games Legends Ultimate on July 1st. That is the big holiday July 4th update. But it's going to be able to do a few other things, Steven, which you're going to have to wait until next week, and I'll show you that. But for right now, get hyped.
You set me up on that, because that's not what it says here on the notes.
Yeah, it does.
No, it says, Steven, talk about firmware update Bluetooth headset. And I wrote no.
I swear, it's on there. It says talk about the Pixelcade.
It's so hard to find good writers. We need better writers.
Want to qualify to win a Legends Gamer or Legends Ultimate? Participate in the Summer League event, and you may be able to do just that. Current Legends Ultimate owners can participate in the 10-week Summer League event, starting June 5th, 2020, and ending August 9th, 2020. During that time, there will be a series of weekend leaderboard events for select games each week. This is a battle to the end. Practice up, make your scores count, and top the charts once and for all, and have a beauty of a prize to show for your hard work. Have fun on the leaderboards, and good luck.
Okay, we're not live yet. Okay.
No, we're live now.
Yeah,
we're back for.
We're live.
Ready,
Hello,
ready
everybody. We're not live. We're live right now.
Oh, right now. Okay. Well, we saw a bunch of questions coming in during the show, and obviously we were trying to stay on track with what the subject was about. But a lot of you guys were coming in and asking, or one of the gentlemen had an issue he was saying about with NBA Jam. I wasn't sure what he was alluding to with the new Arcade 1-Up cabinet.
I think he was having issues with his Wi-Fi or his connectability.
Have you guys tested it on Wi-Fi yet? I've just gone straight hardwire because I already had everything ordered.
I've done nothing but Wi-Fi.
Okay. And have you had any ill experiences?
I've had perfect experiences. Granted, I'm probably not the best subject just because I've got gigabit internet and the Google Mesh Wi-Fi. So like it's about as optimal as it gets with my setup. But me personally, it's been playing great. I know others have had some issues. It's kind of hard to like narrow it down just because there's so many different outliers that things could possibly be, whether it be their network setup, whether they have open or closed NAT support. What's going on with everybody is going to be each setup is going to be a little unique. So it's kind of hard to like troubleshoot globally, so to speak.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one because I'm in the same predicament. I have almost 500 megs down, and I have about 50 megs up. So I am not going to be a good candidate. My Wi-Fi, is going to work, but I try to keep everything hardwired as much as I possibly can. Glenn, did you play with it at all?
Yeah, I've been using it on both, and I'm surprised my Wi-Fi's been fine. I'm the one who kept complaining that I wish it had the hard line built in. But I've been, I suck fast or slow. It doesn't really matter. But what's really stupid about this? You have the four player buttons on there, right? So I always pick the first game. So I'm Barkley usually every time. I just bang to get in the game.
That's all he knows.
I think that's all I know. But I said I want to try the player 2 one just so I get in front of the monitor, right? So I had a really good game going. I was up by like 10 points, third quarter, and I was in the second player position. And I hit the start for the player 1 and 2. Now my computer guy was gone. So now I'm playing individual, and now I'm getting out. I had a great game going. I picked the scoreboard. I'm going to be on there with a great game. Now I'm Barkley standing there like this. And I'm playing both positions, and I got annihilated. I got just totally creamed.
You're used to those dual joystick setups. I mean, you should have been,
It's not elevator action, Glenn.
Yeah. Crazy Climber was my game. Crazy Climber. That was it. But I was just like, man, I just blew the game.
Now, did you guys have this problem? One of the big issues that I had so far, and I played it for about 2 hours. I played with my wife and my daughter, and then I played against the computer. I would go up by like 15 points against the computer. Then all of a sudden, in the last 3 to 5 minutes, everybody that was there would jump into the game just so they could get their victory, but they wouldn't play the whole game. And then I'd get beat.
They got to change that.
Well, I would get beat. And it's like, that's kind of not fair. You get all these guys that are ranked high. And again, that was the big experience that I saw with it. And I'm not an NBA Jam player, but playing it on the cabinet, I was kind of like, did anybody else experience that? I mean, Glenn, you said you did. Well, you did it to yourself. So I did
it to myself. Yeah, no one's gonna do it to me. I do it to myself. But maybe Jim can make a little Dota board attachment where you can.
There you go, Jim.
Jack up your score.
There you go. Little button
like
press.
The old spoons back in the day, huh? The old spoons on track and field.
There you go.
Oh, another game I suck. Why it's a physical game. No good.
Yeah. Works those wrist muscles for sure.
Well, you would think with these arms, you would think that those would be, adequate, But nope. That's how I fight.
Praying mantis style. That's what that's called.
I'm here all night, folks. Got plenty more.
So Mr. Chip wants to know, did my daughter dunk on me? Actually, she did a couple times. She figured it out, and she was doing all these different
Special
dunks.
High-fly maneuvers.
She caught fire once. She thought that was really cool. Now, mind you, she's 11. She's never played NBA Jam. Has no clue about. I mean, she's learning all this retro stuff. She's like, "That's pretty cool. He can do flips with a basketball that's flaming, and he doesn't get burnt." And then it burns the net, and she's like, "It just came back. How's that right?" She's like, "It should have been burned off. It's gone. I burned it off." She was more worried about that than actually playing the game.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right.
That's
so
cool. I'm glad to hear she's enjoying it.
There you go, Glenn. From Matt Harmon. They want you to go Kathleen Kennedy rant. There you go.
Well, it's not so much a rant. Again, my two co-hosts are still not buying into the rumors going around that's being reported on that 7, 8, and 9 are going to be retconned as legends and pulled from the Prime timeline. So everything that happened to Luke, Han, everything will not matter in the Prime timeline. Think of it as the Kelvin timeline in Star Trek. Now, if that happens, that'd be awesome because they sucked. So the point, get them out. But of course, who's fighting it? Kathleen Kennedy, because that's her baby.
And if you want to call in and tell Glenn how much he's wrong, you can do so by calling 610-936-9535. That's Glenn's personal number.
I would be very careful telling me that I'm wrong when it comes to Kathleen Kennedy, because I'll turn green, and you know what? You don't want to make me angry. I turn green. You don't want it.
So there it is, folks. The phone lines are open. The number's there.
So Jim,
let's get back to your questions here.
Were you a Star Wars fan back in the day? Did you watch, 4, 5, and 6? Were you a Star Wars fan, or you didn't really care back then?
Well, it's funny is that when I first saw the first preview in 70, whatever it was, really 70,
76,
yeah.
Yep.
I thought, that thing's junk. I'm never going to watch this. And then so I went like 5 consecutive days in a row and watched from 8 a.m. till midnight.
Yeah, there you go.
I became a junkie, yeah. Oh, yeah, so I watch all the Star Wars stuff.
So you like the first 3 films. What did you think of the prequels and then the Abominations? How do you feel about them?
He's setting you, Jim. Jim, he's setting you up here. He's setting you up. Be very, very careful how you answer this.
You know what? I think anything that has Star Wars in it is fine.
Hey, good man.
Oh, boy. Wrong answer. Wrong answer.
It's fine.
Wrong answer.
Because I look at Star Wars a lot differently than most people. I'm looking at the technical aspects of the cinema.
Oh, I agree with you.
The reality of it. The storyline is irrelevant to me, really.
He doesn't agree with you.
Good, because apparently it was the Kathleen Kennedy too, because there wasn't one. So I was like, that's okay.
Warned you. So
yeah, I like the robotics. I like all that stuff, but that's how I look at it mostly. How much fringing there is on the lightsaber, and things like that. So that's what I look for.
So Glass Babies wants to know, I need a light up marquee for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Should I buy a secondary one or wait for Arcade 1-Up? Where is Angel when we need him?
Angel makes good ones. I mean, he really does make good marquees.
Yeah, I mean, it really boils down to how long you want to wait, because I don't think we have an official ETA for the Arcade 1-Up light up marquees for those older cabinets. So if you're wanting something sooner than later, the secondary market's your best bet. But if you're wanting that official one, you don't like the black borders that a lot of the secondary market guys are putting on theirs, then maybe wait it out and get the Arcade 1-Up one.
And I will say the light up marquees that Arcade 1-Up does have on there, like the NBA Jam, is nice. I mean, it looks nice. So, but you're going to pay for it too. It's what, is it $100 they're asking for them?
Well, $79.99 and then shipping and
right.
So
but they're very nice. They're obviously they're OEM, but there are nice ones out there as well. So if you want one today, I would contact Angel and get one of his.
Yep.
And I'm going to leave that comment there for you, Glenn, just to make you feel better.
See, Matt, there we go. Matt, thank you, buddy. Yes.
Notice he didn't say 7 and 9 though.
He did. Well, that's right.
Here's why. Well, here's why. Seven can pass. You know why? Because all it was A New Hope with new effects, and that's admitted. They completely ripped off Episode 4 for 7. So of course it's not going to be bad. And then 9, we're going to disagree there because 9 was basically a toilet flush that didn't quite go down all the way.
Oh man, really?
Oh, that's quite the review.
Yeah, really.
My name is Skywalker. No, it's not.
It's better than Palpatine.
Actually, it was better being Palpatine because you ain't no Skywalker. I'm sorry. Man, it's like you use the toilet and you got a floater and it doesn't quite go down. That's what it was. Okay, that's what it was.
Wow.
Sorry. No hard feelings. Though.
Glenn is the self-proclaimed plunger of the Star Wars universe.
I like that. Well, we're going to announce him as the plunger from now on. Nobody will get it unless they saw this episode.
Move over, Mario. There's a new plumbing gamer.
Right?
Well, originally he was a carpenter anyway, so they kind of changed his backstory. They retconned him too.
Hey, Carl,
just leave things alone, man. Just leave stuff alone. He's Italian. Just leave the poor guy alone. He's a carpenter.
Yeah.
Glenn's gonna break out his light plunger.
Yeah, I could over there. I
But
got it over
There
there.
you go.
Glenn, you
There
got to
go.
admit, as the movies went on, the lightsabers got cooler.
Oh,
No,
absolutely.
I admit, no, Kylo. I do like Kylo's lightsaber with the things on the side. I do. But it's just hysterical when you train your whole life and you beat by a girl who was trained for 13 seconds and bested you. So
Oh.
That's real life scenario right there.
So,
It happened.
yeah, totally.
so Brett agrees the last 3 are just remakes, and then Luke goes on to say, what does he say here? He says 9 at least had great interactions between the cast.
They did.
That is
Yeah, you know what?
good.
They
I'll
did.
give him that.
They
Yeah.
did. And you know what? Between 8 and 9, 9 was a better. Like I was able to watch it without barfing. So I went through the whole film. I didn't barf, and it's one of those films. He's weird with his movies. He does it. You go in the movie, you enjoy it, right? You sit in the movie and you watch it, and then as soon as you leave the theater, you're like, wait a second. You start thinking about it. You're like, no, I didn't like that movie. It was like almost being mentally raped because you're enjoying it. Then after the fact,
Wow.
like, wait a second, that wasn't right.
Wow,
Whoa.
that was
Right.
that was brutal.
I'm just saying because they get you. I think they sprinkle some stuff in the theater. They sprinkle stuff in the theater, so you're like, oh, this is good. Then you
Oh
walk in
no,
your fresh air and you start cleaning your sinuses. And you're like, what the hell just happened?
Jim, look at this. Look at this. Boy, Johnny, Glenn, you were absolutely right. Why do you guys do this?
Feed the beast.
Why? Every week, his head gets bigger. I can't.
Because Glenn speaks the truth when it comes to Star Wars. He's not going to pull the punches.
Oh boy, now your fan club's coming in now. Here's more. Here's Jamie.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Okay, I wasn't going to go into this, but now I got to.
Well, you got to
All right.
read the comment
So-
first before you go into it.
Okay, Disney watered down the Star Wars series, and they have lost some of their mystique. Absolutely. And here's one of the things that got me. All right, with 9, they actually got me in a couple of spots right with the previews where Chewie got killed. C-3PO had his memory wiped, and he was screwed up. Guess what? No, we can't kill Chewie, so he goes back. He didn't get killed. And then C-3PO again. There was no consequences. And then Kylo Ren, he's alive. He kisses her and he dies. What? Come on! If anything, what they should have done, Rey should have turned evil because she was good in she was goody all 3 films, and she should have became evil at the end. And Kylo came back to the good side, had to take care of her. Last Skywalker, boom! That's your movie. Not what we got.
How do you know that she wasn't evil and that's what killed him?
No,
Oh.
we don't. Now, what we don't know.
Oh! Mic
We
drop.
don't know.
Mic drop.
Because nah. I mean, he's right though. Could be. Could be.
That's
It could be a
exactly
mic
my
drop.
problem. We saw it.
Could be.
But this comment's a
we-
good
we-
comment. Eminem says Disney wants to dial down masculinity. It seems, and I kind of agree with that.
Well, I think actually cinema and TV as a whole has done that. No offense to anyone, but the Me Too movement. I don't watch really TV or movies anymore. I watch Star Wars because it was Star Wars. I went and I took it like a man to go watch it. Okay, but Jim is old enough to know as well. Those shows like Leave It to Beaver. The father was usually a halfway decent, smart guy. Brady Bunch. You went to your dad to get some life lessons, or your mom. I'm not saying it was just your dad, but the adults had some intelligence. Every show today, either the parents are an idiot or the guy's definitely an idiot. And I'm tired of watching stuff like that because I have no problem. I have no problem with the Ripley. I have no problem with strong women like Black Widow. Strong women. She could definitely kick my ass, and I'd let her. Not that I could defend myself, but if Black Widow wanted to kick the shit out of me, be my guest. So that's not the problem. The problem is when you have like an 80-pound woman taking on 50 guys who are bodybuilders. It's completely just emasculating the guys, and I personally am tired of seeing it. I am.
Disney also gave us Rebels, Mando, Rogue One, so some flushes went down smooth.
But not with Kathleen Kennedy involved.
9 is Brett says 9 still choked me up at the end. Everyone showing up at the end.
It did. Me too. It was so bad. I was like, oh my god, what did I watch? what did they do?
Come
It was my
on.
show. Yeah. So I agree with him. It choked me up.
Oh my goodness. See what we have to deal with?
Relentless.
Hey, Jim dealt with me since the '90s, so you two got it easy.
We feel so sorry for you, sir. So sorry.
Yeah.
This is.
I have to say though, I really like seeing them bring back Carrie Fisher, and so we could see,
Right.
finishing it out properly. So that was a nice treat for her.
Uh-oh.
Right.
What do you think of that, Glenn? Brett says yes. There are rumors of them wanting to make Boba
I
female.
told you guys about this already. I told you guys about this already. I told you. What they were gonna do is he crawls out of the Sarlacc pit and he dies, and then so it's the girl from Rebels. I can't think of her name. She's the Mandalorian girl. I cannot think of her name. She finds she thank you. She puts on the armor and she becomes him. Now again, I don't have a problem with her doing it, but again, it's an agenda that's not Boba Fett. That's what? Okay. What bothers me most about most of the films today is if you want to make a Star Wars film that's all women, I don't have a problem with it. But don't do it at the cost of previously established characters that we wanted to see. When 7, 8, and 9 came out, we wanted to see Luke, Han, Leia, Lando. We wanted to see what happened to those characters. Okay, we did get a very minuscule piece of it, but it was really just to smush them out of the picture for these new characters that no one cared about. I'm sorry, we didn't care about them. Rant over. I think.
Zero
Maybe.
Hero says Disney gave us the Mandalorian, though.
They did, but it was not Kathleen Kennedy who gave us the Mandalorian. They actually kicked her off the set and told her, "Butt out."
Speaking of getting,
first of all, she took Baby Yoda and she wants to call it the child. I will never call Baby Yoda the child. Never. Baby Yoda.
speaking
Forever.
of getting kicked off, Matt says be careful that you don't get kicked off YouTube.
Well, Lucasfilm is powerful. They are.
A female Jabba?
There was a female Jabba in Episode 1, but it wasn't Jabba. It was just one of her, one of the type. She was fairly not good looking, but she was there.
Star Wars, Ghostbusters, and Terminator. Junk better not touch Back to the Future.
Well, there's been talk of Back to the Future remake, by the way. So let's hope they don't screw with that. Now, you guys do know that the Back to the Future movie we saw with Michael J. Fox was not the original one that they recorded, right?
Correct. Had Eric Stoltz first, and he was just terrible.
Correct. Right. Well, it wasn't so much he was terrible, but his style was not what they wanted. They needed a Michael Keaton.
Well, they wanted Michael J.
character.
They wanted Michael J. Fox originally, and he was just too
Right.
busy with his other shows. So they went,
Marsha
"Hey, you'll do."
McFly.
and they literally recorded. Like the movie was recorded. Like,
Yeah,
80%.
90% of it
And
was
then
done. Yeah.
Right, and his hand is still in it. When Biff gets punched, that's Stoltz's hand who punched him. So he's still in the film.
I like this.
Unfortunately, though, the producers of Back to the Future said no way in hell they're going to let anybody remake it until they're dead. So we've got at least another decade before somebody tries to get
Well,
the grubby bits on it.
Look at the
unfortunate accidents happen in Hollywood. You know what I'm saying?
look what Eminem's saying. Marsha McFly. She was on the Brady Bunch.
Marcia.
I mean, supposedly DeLorean's coming back with a new car. So I mean, if they want to continue it, not remake it. In my opinion, I'm okay with it. I don't care. Just don't rehash it. Don't.
You can actually still buy a DeLorean new. They still make the DeLoreans. They're actually really a crappy car, to be honest.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. If you've ever seen one, yeah, I've driven one personally and ridden one. They're absolutely terrible, but they look cool.
They do. They look cool.
Yeah.
So
Kind of was it like a Toyota MR2? Or not? No, I'm thinking of the Pontiac Fiero. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Great looking cars.
Yeah.
They catch fire and you're dead. But they were great looking. As you burned, you burned to your death.
Absolutely.
So speaking of
Family
remakes,
Yes.
how do you guys feel about the announcement Sony had about Crash Bandicoot 4 coming out? Should they have just let that die?
No, I mean that's one of their tentpole franchises. It makes sense that they're gonna, try to milk it until it's completely dead. Obviously, I mean we're playing Mario 30 years later. It only makes sense for Sony to try to use their mascot. I'm kind of surprised it took them this long, but then again, it took Sega many, many years before they gave us Sonic 4 and Sonic, Mania and those type of things. So I'm happy to see it. I've already got it pre-ordered, so I'm anxious to play it. Hopefully, it lives up to the nostalgic history that we all know and love.
Some people were saying they should have just let it die.
Well,
No,
I mean,
I agree with Cool Toy. He was definitely a staple, with the PlayStation 1. He wasn't the problem was he wasn't a Sony mascot per se. He was like a pseudo mascot. Didn't own it. But you do think Crash Bandicoot, you first could think of Sony. And I hope they make a good game because it was a good character. So why wouldn't they?
Fair enough.
Nostalgia right there. No way. Crash is what did he say? I can't read.
Beast.
Beast.
Oh, now here's a blast from the
eyeglasses.
past. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
oh yeah, we got the new movie coming out sometime this summer,
Yep.
depending on the world
Excellent.
situation.
Yep.
I mean, again, that right there just like shows you how amazing of a human being like Keanu Reeves is. Because like, if anybody on this planet doesn't need a Bill and Ted 3 movie to happen, and I mean, I'm not saying anything negative about the movies, but like, obviously his career is just blown
Oh
up.
yes.
Of all the people in the world that don't need to make a sequel to a movie that was, well past their Hollywood prime, or well previous their Hollywood prime, shall I say, it's Keanu Reeves. So, and that just goes to show you he's doing everybody a solid, and he's just a generally nice guy. He doesn't consider himself too big to do any particular project.
Right. And I wonder how they're going to do it without George Carlin.
Yeah, that's
How they
rough.
gonna
With
do
Rufus.
that.
Yeah. Maybe they can just throw in some sound bites from his old stand-up off screen.
When you get into a phone booth, you got to buy more stuff. And when that phone booth is full of stuff, you got a bigger phone booth to put in more stuff.
Yeah.
And you fill it with that house with stuff. Then you got to buy another house to put in more stuff.
Oh,
And if you look behind me, I need a big house for my stuff.
You need a
Or you go to
warehouse.
cbmstuff.com and buy stuff from Jim Drew from cbmstuff.com.
there you go. Good plug. Good plug.
You should have recorded that, Jim. That would have been a perfect commercial.
Yeah.
Well, it is recorded. We got it here. It's
Oh,
recorded.
that's true. You can
There
pull
you
it
go.
off. Yeah.
Yep.
What's this?
Ooh, I don't know about that statement. Bill and Ted is better than Back to the Future.
Well, they changed their sons to daughters and
No,
made
it's
the movie
definitely
about
not.
them.
It's one of those films. Didn't do well in the theater, but a lot of films don't, and then they do
Cult
better
favorite. Yeah.
afterwards. But better than Back to the Future, that's a tough call for me. I could take Bill and Ted in short doses. They were fun, but I can watch Back to the Future, and I have watched it thousands of times. Like the good 3 Star Wars films, thousands of times. The new ones, once, and burned them.
You mean burn them onto a disc so you watch it later forever and ever? Is what you're saying?
And no. That's a telltale how good a movie is. I mean, the Terminator 1 and 2, hundreds of times. The last Terminator, what was it? Not Genesis. What was the last one they did? Can't even think of the name. What was the last Terminator film they did?
Yeah,
Can't even think of the name. That's
I like
how
the last one.
bad it was.
Yeah.
Oh,
Even
I like
Genesis
the
I
last
watched
one.
once.
I'm a
I
huge
hate-
fan.
I'm a huge Terminator
Jim?
fan, but what they did to John Connor in the first 5 minutes just ruined that movie for me. Like, I was mentally checked out from the moment that happened. Then on, I was like, whoa, no. You don't spend 30 years telling us that John Connor is the savior of mankind only to wipe him out. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, which nobody did because it lost $1 billion at the box office.
So, Jim, what were you going to say?
I'm a big fan of the Terminator series. So
So, what did you think after Terminator 2? How did you feel the series went? Like, I admit, I didn't really mind Terminator 3, and I didn't mind the one in the future called Terminator Salvation. I actually enjoyed that one too.
Yeah, that was a good one. I like that one as well.
yeah, I like the last one too. Though I actually like the story of the last one, but
What? It was
I
they
think-
stole the Terminator 2 story.
I know that.
No, it was a continuation. It was an official sequel.
Yeah, it requires a little bit of comprehension, Glenn. Get on board.
Yes, finally, somebody's telling him.
Connect the dots.
I'm
Glenn.
not
Jeez.
gonna run. We're gonna fight.
But
I'm
I have
23
to admit-
pounds, but I'm gonna take on that machine alone.
I have to admit, I'll show you something. So I don't know if I can spin this around on my camera or not, but so I'm a pretty huge Terminator
nice.
fan.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
Check
And,
that out.
So,
So
let me,
wait a second. Wait a
let me
second.
pull it
So
back
when
real quick.
when the fall of man happens because the Terminators take over, it's because you got the arm they built it from. Jim,
So
you're gonna kill us.
if you look at this one,
Look at it, it's even signed.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
Jim signed it. So I worked with James Cameron on a project, and
What?
so I worked on a project when he went to the Marianas Trench for the trench dive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I
it,
designed the electronics for the ROV that was used on the submersible.
Holy crap.
So I went to Guam and all that stuff, and got to hang out with Jim and stuff. So Jim came to my office in Havasu, where I live, and I had it all up there, right? And it's so funny too because I've got the Terminator from the original with the arm, and I've got the one from T3, which is the Terminatrix. And so Jim, first thing he did wasn't hi, hello. He walked straight over to it, and he looked at the Terminatrix one. He goes, "So that's what a piece of crap looks like." Because he wasn't involved with that one. And I laughed. I go, "I know, they were on sale."
Scott wants to know if you're building your own Terminator.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm a huge Terminator fan. So funny thing is that back when T2 was originally released, when I was doing the stuff with Hollywood Studios, I met a lot of different people, including one guy named is Brian. He's a Foley artist. In fact, he's won an Emmy and stuff now. And he actually got me a signed box Laserdisc version, and it's a CLV instead of being a CAV, and it's signed by Jim on the inside. And he actually got that for me back in the day. So who knew later on in life that I would actually meet Jim and work with him and stuff. So that was kind of funny. And so he signed my Terminator for me. So
After all these years, Jim, I'm still learning new things about you, man.
yeah, so that was a fun project. That whole trench dive thing. That guy's got some serious cojones to get in that thing.
Yep, well, they did an episode of South Park on him.
Yeah, it's amazing actually. And I had privy to all the technology and stuff, and it was it wasn't like a 10-day job to put something together and go down there. This was years of preparation before this thing to happen. So I was on the project for 9 months doing the electronics for the ROV. So I had to develop pressure qualified electronic, which was kind of cool because I got to learn about how pressure works and stuff. So one of the things so Mike Cameron is Jim Cameron's brother, and he's a guy that's really the brains behind everything because he's the guy that developed all the technology for like the optic fiber system that was used to go explore the Titanic and all that stuff. So Mike did all the ROV, guts, and I did the electronic part of it. And so we built this pressure chamber, and this pressure chamber has to qualify the electronics. So you got to throw your electronics in this pressure chamber, and you have to cycle it up and down, and make sure it doesn't stop working for one, and also doesn't explode because it's serious pressure. So at 36,000 feet, pressure is what 16,500 psi, and
Everyone knows that.
There's about a 3% shrinkage or so, and expansion. So basically, when you shrink down about 3% of the size of a circuit board from normal, and that means all the parts have got to shrink, everything's got to shrink together. So you have to do things like X-ray your chips to make sure that there's no entrained air inside and air pockets, otherwise it can blow up the whole thing. So a lot of things you got to learn. But with testing the pressure chamber, you take a styrofoam drinking cup, like a traditional coffee cup, the little styrofoam ones, and when you put it in the pressure chamber, it comes out the size of a thimble. And so you can literally write your name on it and stuff, and you put it in the pressure chamber, and it pops back out, and it's like this miniature little thing because of the way the pressure was. Whoa. So it's just amazing what we learn from things like that. So yeah, so I was a fan of Jim before, and now I'm a big fan, of course, and so that's why I think pretty much anything with Terminator is nice. I like to keep the franchise going, and so hope Jim makes another one.
All right, I'll let that one slide. I mean, that's the cool factor alone in that one. I can't really argue it.
Yeah.
Eminem says, I was blessed to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger at the Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio in the Expo in 2000. Met him and Scott Steiner. Pretty cool, man.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's a big dude.
Jim, when you were doing this, do you really think your life would have taken you down this path, going to NASA, doing this stuff here for James Cameron? I mean, did you ever imagine you'd be navigating life this way?
No. And I try to make it a mission where I try to solve problems, basically. That's what really, attracts me to a project is like, can it be done? Everyone's like, oh, it's impossible. It's like, okay, perfect. I'm the right guy because there's no such thing as impossible.
Yeah.
But I try to put myself out to be in the situations as much as I can still to this day. And so it is attracting people like that. But no, I have no clue that I would be meeting all these famous people at all. And so, but what's funny is that I didn't get starstruck at all. I met with Jim at in Guam at the hotel when we first met the very first time. I talked to him on the phone several times throughout the meeting, throughout 9 months or whatever it was. And when you first met him, it's like not a big deal. We spent hours together, and he was working on simulation software to fly this ROV and all this stuff. And I wasn't like a big deal. It was like just like meeting any kind of regular contract person I deal with all the time. But when he left in the morning, or later that night, man, when I woke up in the morning, I'm like, I felt like a little girl. I was like, I got to meet James Cameron, right? This guy got a little bit. Yeah. And so, and then after that, when he came to my office and stuff like that, I was like, so it's pretty normal now. But yeah, I never expected my life to kind of go this way really at all. But I'm glad it has. I met a lot of nice people.
They got to compensate you meeting me. So it's just life balancing itself out.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yep, life has a
I
balance.
have to tell you guys that Glen really is a good guy. He's always been very nice, very honest, and very upfront. That's one thing about Glen I will say. You were always very upfront, and for some reason, you just never hold back. I just can't figure that out. Just ask Kathleen, right?
Yeah, man. What really gets me about the whole thing was I'll never forget when George Lucas handed the baton to her, and she said to him when he did that I'm going to respect these characters and keep everything true to your vision. And she just most certainly went 180 and didn't do that at all. And even George Lucas has admitted that he's made a mistake. So
well, maybe your vision's bad. Maybe she needs glasses.
That's very, very possible. Very, very possible.
He was also naive that he was going to get a check for $4 billion and they were just going to go take his ideas and make those exact movies. Like, no, they don't give you a $4 billion check to take your ideas and just make those 100% into movies. They give you a $4 billion check to shut up and walk away.
Yeah, in the business, we call that compensation.
Exactly. Right. Like, you have to have like some next level naivety to go into that deal and think they were just going to take everything in his notebook and just, make the next 30 years worth of Star Wars content exactly as he wrote it down.
Well, you know what? They should have, because there's a guy who made Howard the Duck. And anyone who can make Howard the Duck,
which a great
should
movie.
have took his ideas. Yep.
Yeah.
Classic.
He also made the Star Wars Christmas special, Glenn. So
that was phenomenal.
Remember that next time you're celebrating was it Light Day?
Life Day.
Life Day, that's what it is. Yeah, Life Day. Yeah. Just remember next time you're going on a Kathleen Kennedy rant, you can always kick back and enjoy your Star Wars Christmas special.
Yeah. No one says there weren't dark times. There was dark times. It's a fact. There was definitely dark times.
You didn't like.
So what does George say nowadays? Is he still mad about the whole thing? Because I know for a fact, like, even when you sell something like technologies, which I've done quite a bit, there's still a PCU out there that goes with that. And it's like,
like Pixar. He sold Pixar,
Yeah.
Sold that to that was his technology. He's been vocal as of late, saying that he's very disappointed in the way the whole thing went down. But to be totally honest here, he did great with 4, 5, and 6 because he didn't direct really 5 and 6 and only a little bit of 4. He directed 1, 2, and 3, and the acting in there and everything was not very good. So he's a good idea man. He shouldn't be the directing force. He needs someone else to do that for him.
Nor should he be the dialogue man, because that was another one of his failures is writing dialogue.
I don't like sand. It gets between your toes. I'm not happy about that.
That's not how people talk. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just like you don't have engineers write your documentation for you either, usually.
Yeah, absolutely. That will be a very hard to follow.
Yeah. Trust me, I know. I heard feedback for years on
that. George Lucas isn't allowed to talk about it. Sean Powers says.
Well, I'm sure he's got some contractual obligations, but it's come around where he's very unhappy because again, Kathleen promised he was going to do certain things, and as soon as he walked away.
I went back to this comment only because I wanted to see Glen's reaction. Kylo Ren saves Star Wars. He's the only good character, and that's from Steve Nardo.
Yeah, he's stupid. Violence is compliance. So
I hear crickets.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, he's still like I don't know how he's staying that still.
I think Steve Nardo might win the Supercard board just for having some fight time here from Glen.
There we go. You broke Glen. had a meltdown.
Press control all the way quick.
Yeah. Well played, Glenn. Well played.
The blue screen of death.
So I do.
He could have been a good character though, because in 7 he was he was agitated and he was grabbing people, he was stopping bolts with the Force. But then they castrated him. I feel they castrated him in 8, and he came back a little bit in 9. He came back a little bit better in 9. He actually fought her and actually held his own for a change.
Got his mask back, which was sweet.
Yeah, he got his mask back.
He needed the mask. The whole
Yeah.
mystique of him left after they.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah. So he had probably the most potential, I think, out of them. But actually, I think also, what was the guy's name? The Stormtrooper guy. See, I haven't watched enough to remember his names.
Finn.
Finn.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Finn could have potentially had. He could have had a really good storyline. He was a Stormtrooper. He was Force sensitive. That would have been a great arc to bring out. He to it, and they left it flat. So he could have been a good character. He was an okay character, but he could have been better.
Okay, so he says, Jason Tierney says, Kylo Ren over Jar Jar Binks. Come on, man.
Oh, yeah, yes, no question about that. Me and not understand why no one liking me. We don't like you, Jar Jar. We don't like you. So yeah, yep. I may actually put Rey above Jar Jar, but it'd be close.
Wow,
it'd be close.
That's brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Just facts.
Wow,
just facts.
I will give him credit. The man finally got some comeuppance. There's like this new Star Wars game show. It's kind of like Star Wars Legends of the Hidden Temple for like young kids. I don't remember if it's on Disney Plus or whatever. But anyways, the host of the show is the voice actor that played Jar Jar Binks. So he finally gets to do something positive in the Star Wars universe. And
well, I do feel bad for him though. I do feel bad for him because the backlash he actually got over. It's not his fault. He was following a script, but he had through depression. He was taking all this flack for it. It's not his fault. And to be honest, Jar Jar himself wasn't a horrible character. They just went too overboard because George Lucas wanted to make it kid friendly. He could have been a halfway decent character, but he went a little too far with it.
He was almost Michael Jackson.
Yes, that is true.
So, again, keep that in mind next time you start harping on Kathleen Kennedy. Think about the fact that we almost had Michael Jackson in a rubber suit.
But did we? But did we? We did not.
Thanks for that visual.
Yeah, just say it.
I didn't eat
and we
yet.
almost had Nicolas Cage as Superman. People make mistakes.
Oh my God! Did you see that clip of that? You ever seen that thing?
Absolutely.
Oh my God! If Superman was able to get a needle in his wrist and do crack cocaine or whatever you shoot in your arm for like 6 months, that's what Nicolas Cage looked like as Superman.
Yeah, it was super meth man.
Yes. Like wow.
I'm looking here.
I was looking at Jim. Like, did I make Jim?
Yeah, no.
He was just like.
I mean, you don't really need to add anything to that.
Jim's taking it all in.
Got nothing.
Come on, Jar Jar is horrible. Brett Rutler said.
He is. He is.
He serves his purpose. He's comedic relief.
He was comic relief. He was fun.
No, he had like a good scene when he got his like face fried. Like,
No, my kids loved him. They thought Jar Jar Binks was hilarious. That was like their favorite next to let me think. Next to BB-8, I would say.
Yeah.
That's like Jar Jar, and now of course, Baby Yoda. Every store we go into where they sell anything with the child, my daughter. Yoda. But I'm just saying that's how they label it at the store, the child, and then when you ask somebody, you say, "Hey, do you have any Baby Yoda stuff?" They go, "Oh, you mean the child?"
I would walk out, say goodbye, and I'd walk right out.
I just want to flash forward to like a year from now when we know the child's name and it's like Frank, and then I've got to go nuts about how they called Baby Yoda Frank.
Would it be Ferger?
That would be funny.
As his last name, Ferger, Frank Ferger. All right,
that actually would be hysterical, and I'd laugh.
I have not watched The Mandalorian at all yet.
Oh, Jim, you got to watch it.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Hang up.
Yeah, it's very good.
When I saw the Baby Yoda thing, I'm like, oh, they destroyed this thing.
No, opposite.
Oh, okay.
Opposite.
Then I will definitely go watch it then.
Yep. And if you haven't seen the Clone Wars, you got to watch Clone Wars, especially like the last season, and Rebels. Those are all very good. The other one, Resistance. Resistance was a dumpster fire from the start.
That's why it was one and done.
Yep.
Glass Baby goes, Yoda was old in my day. Well, now they're doing all the prequels. They're going back.
Yeah.
So somebody said something about, let me pull this back up because there's big talk about, let me go back. I like the C-3PO, hang on a sec, or the RC C-3PO smoking commercial from the 80s.
I don't know if I ever saw that.
I was going to say, I don't know if I ever saw that either. I was going to ask you, did you guys, now I was young in the 80s, but.
Well, the biggest.
Oh, no, I do remember this. It was an anti-smoking commercial. Yeah. I do remember that.
They No to Drugs campaign commercial.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. If you want to talk about creepy C-3PO things, it's that trading card that has some very suggestive looking shadowing going on C-3PO's cod piece area.
Oh.
That's the biggest scandal C-3PO ever experienced. It wasn't a smoking commercial.
The egg in the frying pan was good too, not the Star Wars, but this is your brain on drugs. Oh, I do remember that one.
I mean, this is your brain for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
They got some mileage out of that commercial.
Yeah. Brain's tasty.
Dave Foley for president of Lucasfilm.
Filoni. Yeah, he's the guy running Mandalorian. He's the guy that did Rebels and Clone Wars as far as the show creation and the showrunner. So he's
excellent.
Supposedly is going to get a baton handed to him as far as creative direction.
And he's going to bash it over Kathleen's head.
So can I do a real quick shout out? Is that okay? Are we allowed to do that? Can we do that?
Of course.
So if you guys have noticed, we now have the ability to pull in comments on here. I know there's some other software out there, but because of the what we have now, it's got a lot of more pizzazz to it, right? We can add all really cool things below. But the company New Blue Titler, I've been working with these guys, New Blue Effects, for years, and I was telling them what we were trying to do here, and I told them, like, when Glen gets on his rants, it's like impossible to not like pull up really cool feedback. And so if you're running like OBS or you're running Wirecast or any of that stuff, New Blue, they have what's called the Tyler Live, and that's what we're using here. They've taken care of us and provided us with the highest end version, which is like $4,000 to do this. So I haven't even dove into half of what this can do, but this is the same type of graphics. Toast. What's that?
It makes toast.
It should at this point, but you guys were talking about Adobe and some of the different platforms and the toaster and all that stuff, and they do everything for Avid and I mean anything you see on
Roland,
TV.
You got Corel,
absolutely, these are all everything you see on TV. So I just want to give them a shout out. They didn't ask for it, but
they deserve it.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like he was gracious. He's like, oh, our software can do it. It's really easy to set up, and these guys know I was playing with it. I wanted to be able to bring it up for Jim for questions if people had them, because some people don't like to just call in. You guys can call in. The line is open. So I thought, well, let's give them a shout out, because I thought that was really generous of them to give us that for the show, to be able to pull all that in, and not just so like if you're on Twitter, you can do @TheTechBuzz and we can pull those comments in. I did request Twitch. I know we've got some viewers over on Twitch. Sorry we don't have that yet, but Facebook, YouTube, we can pull all that in, and it's nice because I don't have to flip between browsers like Doug's doing. He's jumping, and I could pull everybody in, so nobody is left out. We want to hear your comments. So
cool. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So Jim, do you have any other secrets that all these years you've kept from me?
Here comes the secrets.
Are there any secrets you haven't told us? Any other movie tie-ins? Any other Apple surprises?
Oh, are you gonna go with the Apple bashing? Is that what you want to do? Because Apple,
no, not at all. No,
Apple got good when Steve Jobs came in.
I have a lot of respect for Apple because Amiga was able to run it so much better than them. So I have a lot of respect for Apple.
Oh, here we go.
No, I mean, I do a lot of interesting things that I don't get to chat about, which is unfortunate. So it's pretty much my life in the last probably 6-7 years anyway, is more of that kind of work, where doing projects that, under NDA for a bunch of stuff. So at some point, some of the stuff will come out, and that's kind of cool to be involved with. So like Jim's stuff, but
Well,
I couldn't talk about it all until after he had already done his thing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a bummer. Here's a funny story I'll tell you. So if my son's watching, he can attest to this. So this was 2011 when we did this project with Jim. And so my son is, he's 11 years old at that time. And he got to go out to our lake here with Mike Cameron and drive the ROV around. But he couldn't tell anybody. This 11-year-old driving historic equipment around doing testing, and he's like, I can't tell nobody. It's like, nope, sorry, you can't tell anybody until after the whole thing was done. It's like, no one's gonna believe me. It's like, well, they will later.
Yeah.
But so yeah, there's a lot of little secret things like that you don't get to say anything until after you're all done with it. So
well, caller, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up? It's Angel.
Hey,
Angel.
we were just
Hey,
talking
buddy.
about you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love the love you guys always give me every time.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you
Well deserved, my friend.
Marquee earlier.
What happened?
Said somebody was asking about a marquee earlier. We told him head your way.
Yeah, I've been watching
It was
the
for
show
Turtles
since
one,
the
I think.
beginning. I was I'm actually working on Bobby Vu's marquees for his big show this week.
It better be clean like a mother.
It'll be clean. It'll be clean.
All right.
We're holding you to it.
Yeah, man. He's got me doing custom stuff here. Don't edit that. Make sure nobody knows I can do that.
Okay. we won't
So
tell
what's going
everybody.
Yeah, all right. Hey, Glenn, they called me from the mall. I gotta go pick up my Pops the child.
Better get your money back.
Oh.
No. Nope.
I had it pre-ordered, so they told me to go pick up the child.
I would say I didn't order a child. That's like, isn't that illegal to order children?
Oh,
That is
there it
illegal.
is.
Actually, you know what?
There it
You
is.
can go to jail for that.
Only if you get caught.
That's true. There was a comment real quick in here from Jeff Rule. I want Glenn's thoughts on Darth Jar Jar and what he was the cause of everything. Now, if they had done that, I would have kissed Kathleen Kennedy on the lips for that one. I think that would have been amazing. The reason he acted like a jerk and idiot the whole time, because he was actually running everything and he was the Dark Lord of the Sith. If they had done that, I totally would have, I would have been totally cool with that. I thought that would have been amazing. Personally, I thought that would have been absolutely amazing. That would have subverted my expectations.
Hard no.
Angel, you actually have a comment in here. I don't know if you're seeing it. If you're just on your phone, Eminem says, "Hi, Angel. Can't wait to see the ones that I've got on the way, man. Pac-Man and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles."
Yeah, let everybody know that I'm working hard every day. I had one little sick day, so I was in bed for a whole day. But I'm in the garage working. I know I give everybody a 4-week minimum, but you got to give me all that time just to get it all done right.
Oh, yeah.
Angel, make it clean like a mother.
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
You got to understand, I'm competing with trolls out there.
Oh man, Meatball Saucy
like
says, "Does anyone see anything wrong with the clean like a mother phrase?"
It depends on what you're eating.
Yeah.
Does he do Final Fight marquees? He
Does
does
them all.
whatever one you want, man. Glass Babies, get in touch
Yeah.
with Angel, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just hit me up on the messenger. If I don't get back to you right away, it's because I'm trying to find free time at night. I usually like hitting everybody up late at night and wait for the answers in the morning. But I eventually get to you guys. I know it's been hard to reach me, but I'm just trying to clean up a lot of stuff.
It's a one-man show. I mean, people got to understand.
Yeah, I mean everybody now wants the colored trim, which I mentioned I did a while back, but I guess it's starting to trend now, and that just takes about 15 minutes each marquee just to do it. So because it's like I have to make sure there's no bubbles, everything's put on right, and then when you put it on the marquee, it winds up making bubbles because it's not expanded the way it is. But either way, I get it done right.
Well, you do
I
good
can
work.
attest to that. I can attest to that.
And don't forget, Glenn, I haven't forgot yours. I know yours are on the way too.
Oh, Angel, there's no rush at all. No rush at all. But if
Because
you do run into Kathleen Kennedy down in Florida, you know what to do.
Man, I would love to see a show with you and her on live. Man.
You would break the internet. You really would.
We need to make that happen. We need to trend that. Let's get this started. Get that trending.
I would double pay my freaking Disney Plus for that.
Trying to think of what kind of game show scenario would be best to pit those two against
Jim,
each
do you
other.
happen to know anybody that knows Kathleen Kennedy since you know the Terminator people? I mean, can you make this happen?
I can chat. We'll see.
Oh.
All right, there we go. There we go. Boom.
It'll be like this. It'll be gloves off, and you'll have Glen on one side, Kathleen Kennedy on the other.
We just have to see that argument.
It would never be an argument. It'll be a one-way discussion.
Or a celebrity boxing match. They have those too. So, you know,
Oh,
whatever.
they do.
Yeah.
Celebrity death match. Yeah, remember that show?
Oh, great show. TV's.
Yep. Back in the day.
You know how she probably ended, Glenn?
How's that?
She got paid for the movies no matter what.
They made money. You know, it's true. Making $1 billion on a movie is nothing to sneeze at. So it's not like, they're hurting for it. But I personally believe, maybe I'm wrong, that the majority of people did not think they were great films. They saw them, they're Star Wars fans, but I don't think anyone thought they were a good film.
I think that
it doesn't matter what it looks like, what it smells like, people will still buy it.
Hey, that's how I get by in life.
Yeah, exactly. Remember,
What were you going to say, Jim?
Something to you, Glenn. It is a really big generational thing because think how old the Star Wars franchise really is.
Right.
So you've got to cater to the younger generation that can not so much understand things like that sometimes.
And Jim, you're totally right. When Star Wars came out, I was 8 when I was in the theaters. So adults can enjoy it. But yeah, it was a kids' film. So episode 1, 2, and 3 was Jar Jar was in there for kids. The writing, as far as they talk, wasn't. And the new ones, I get it. The new ones were, again, for kids. You had BB-8, who was cute. You had the other little robot that looked like a little lamppost, whatever his name was. I don't even know. But, and the characters and the effects, it was, I do understand that. But with that being said, they should have simply not continued the Skywalker saga. They should have simply jumped, did a whole new Star Wars thing. They shouldn't have brought them back because when you take, like anything, like look at Total Recall, did a remake of that. When you take a franchise, you have an expectation of what that should be. And if you're going to have a Skywalkers and Luke and Leia, you expect it to be about them. And it wasn't really about them at all. It was about Rey, which, again, would have been fine. But don't tie them in with the other characters. Just have her do her own story and go there. I think it would have been a better film for me personally if they didn't trash the class. I do feel, honestly, they really did trash the classic characters in that franchise. They really did. Probably the only one they didn't was Lando Calrissian. Probably the only one they did not trash in it. But I don't think Han went out the right way. I understand he could have been killed off, but it wasn't done in a right way. And then, in fact, if you look at the film,
how should he have been killed off? How should he have been killed off?
Well, I'm gonna tell you one thing right now. When he's standing with his father, the lightsaber is this way. Okay, he's holding it this way and he's grabbing it like this. Next thing you know, the shot is it's in him. So at least if you're gonna do it, have your camera angles right, would you? I mean, come on. $1 billion film. How'd the lightsaber go from this to? I mean, come on.
I love that. That's the hang up that Glenn is posing. Like he's okay with the logistics and the physics of a lightsaber, but he's not okay with the mental acuity to think that somebody perhaps rotated the wrist 90 degrees.
Totally ruined it.
Between scenes.
Yeah,
exactly right. And Star Trek did it too. Star Trek 4, The Undiscovered Country, he's on the ice planet and he's wrestling the changeling. And he's facing one way, and Bones is faced another way. Yet they roll over him, but he was nowhere near him. Come on, people.
Get Get Off
Get it
My
right.
Lawn Gaming says Star Wars fanboys are worse than Sony versus Xbox people.
That's hysterical.
That is, sir, you just got the comment of the night.
For sure.
That is classic. Now, Glenn, how are you going to respond to that? Go.
I agree with him. I agree with him. And I'm going to tell you something else.
Wow,
I
he
am not a
agrees.
Star Wars fanboy. I'm not a Star Wars fanboy. I'm a science fiction person, and I enjoy the movies. But I'm not I'm more of a Star Trek guy, if anything, than
Here,
Star Wars.
I'll make you feel better.
Yeah, Steve. Thanks, Steve. But in all honesty, I think the Star Trek franchise is better than Star Wars only because you have 9 films of Star Wars. You have like the Hollywood special. I'll give it 15 or 20. Star Trek has got TNG, the regular episode, Voyager, tons of episodes, hundreds of episodes, each with good stories in it. Star Wars so far has had a Death Star in the first film. It's had it in the third film. It's had it again in the 7th film. I mean, come on. It's like Death Star, Death Star, Death Star. It's the same thing.
What do you think of
I agree with you.
Boy Johnny's comment? Han Solo should have went out with Chewie on the ship in a blaze of glory.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They should have done something that they sacrificed themselves to save everyone else. That would have been Han. That would have been him. That would have been his arc. He went from a guy who was about himself shooting, and he shot Greedo first. There's nothing they changed. He gunned him down in cold blood, and that's how it always would be in my brain. So he went from that character to sacrificing. That would have been the way to go, even if it was saving Rey. Although the ship should have landed on her, but whatever.
Glenn's gonna love this guy.
I'm gonna point out that that's yet another George Lucas change. Just gonna put that out there.
Yes, and he's right. The cinematography, the scenes, the graphics, and the new films, even the prequels, they were very nice. The special effects were very nice. Sometimes those special effects could be too good. Like I don't like the original Star Wars films. I thought the special effects were perfect for the era. Then he came up with special editions. I think he ruined it with that. I think that the people who spent blood, sweat, and tears to make those effects should have that available to people to watch. There was a lot of manpower, a lot of love, a lot of TLC to make those effects to simply be CGI'd over, and some of it wasn't better.
All right, read your Star Trek comment.
Well, I only mentioned Star Trek 4 and Discovered Country because that one shot. Voyage Home was okay, I guess. Whales. We all love the whales, right? Yay, whales. Yay.
I like the Wrath of Khan.
Who doesn't? My God,
Yes.
yeah.
That's just a great.
Yep. That film has got 0 flaws.
Yeah, that's
0.
great.
So Eric wants to know: didn't Harrison Ford want Han to die in the Return of the Jedi?
Oh, absolutely.
Correct.
Harrison Ford didn't want to do any more Star Wars, period. The fact that he came back for episode 7 and 9 shows you just how much, trucks backed up to his house with stacks of cash, because he's wanted nothing to do with Star Wars since inception. Like that's one thing he has been very vocal and adamant about. He's like, he doesn't get the fan base. He didn't like being associated with it. He wants to be known for other roles. So the fact that he was willing to come back,
that movie was a stepping stone to other roles. He's right. And the actual writers in Empire and Jedi wanted to kill him off as well. Lucas was like, no, he wanted Han there. He refused to kill him off.
Leah's calling you out.
Wait, Glenn is a Star. I am not. I am not a Star Wars fanboy. I do like Star Wars, though. I am not going to lie. I love Darth Vader. I think Darth Vader is one of the coolest characters. He's a badass who he could force choke me all he wants. I would be happy if he did it. I like the universe it was in the first films. Glenn.
Glenn wanted Pong to kill Solo.
There you go. That's accurate.
This is
I'm definitely more of a Star Trek fan than a Star Wars fan. Absolutely.
Plus, you got to give it to Picard. He played Professor X in the X-Men movie too.
That's right.
Yeah.
Although let's try and forget some of those X-Men films. Some of them were pretty bad too.
Oh, now you're gonna hate on the X-Men films. Now you're gonna wake everybody up, and they're gonna come at you with pitchforks, man.
The Phoenix Saga one? OMG, come on.
Yeah, those aren't garbage.
I'm afraid to
It was
ask,
garbage.
man.
It was
What do you think
hard.
of the...
I gotta say one thing. This one word is gonna justify me right here, Steven. One word. I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. Oh.
That's not one word, but we'll take it.
Oh.
It's a long word.
Yeah.
It is, and he's not a mutant. He's Xavier's brother with a magical chant. He is not a mutant, and he definitely have a penis for a head as well.
So Sean's saying that you have a side of a room that we never see that has your Tribble collection. Is that true?
No, I do, but I do have some Enterprises. I have some models. Now, if you're gonna ask me my best show, I have something like much better than Star Wars, better than Star Trek, Space 1999, Battlestar Galactica. Those are my two favorites. Thanks,
Space
Jim.
1999.
Yep.
That's a great show.
Yep.
Jason wants to know how you feel about Spaceballs. And he walked away.
Spaceballs. I'm here. Spaceballs was entertaining. It was good. You know, he can't mess with the helmet. I would never go over his helmet, that's for sure.
My Schwartz is bigger than yours.
Oh, I gotta reach this without breaking everything.
Yeah, he's gonna destroy this box.
Yeah. Wait for the glass.
Okay.
Sound of
All
glass.
right, so I'm gonna take this here, and we're gonna. Yeah, you wouldn't be surprised.
Glass Babies goes back to no masks or costumes equals sad X-Men age of Apoc was cool.
All right. Now, this is not quite Cool Toy League, because I'm definitely not as much of a collector as Mr. Cool Toy.
Wait, Glenn
my
has
God, I'm gonna
toys?
kill somebody here. All right, so this is not everything I have, but this will just kind of show you.
He's going to bring out a 100 million scale model.
Yeah.
Hey, so
there you go.
Hey, nice.
Here is.
Well done.
Yeah,
Here, I'll pull that away.
Die-cast eagle here.
Yeah.
And this is my absolute pride and joy. I got other models, but this is just my absolute pride and joy. Is this one here? This is my most favorite show in the world. Season 1 was better than season 2, absolutely, but love this. And of course, I also have, these type of models here. These are Playmates, but they have like sound and speech. So there was actually, Jim, I don't know if you ever saw it. There was actually on YouTube, it's called Battlestar 1999, where they actually melded these two shows together perfectly. I'm telling you, if you see this thing, you will think it was an episode made. It is fantastic. It's called Battlestar 1999. You got to watch it. It's like 45 minutes.
It's on YouTube or something?
It is on YouTube, and basically it was an episode. I'm not going to, I'll ruin it for you, so just watch it. I'm telling you, we'll love it.
Yeah, I really like that. 1999.
Yep.
I had the models.
Mark Lando, Barbara Bain.
Yeah, Barbara Bain.
Those ships were like Pez dispensers. Every episode, boom, they're blowing up. Boom, they're crashing. Every episode.
It was ahead of its time for sure.
Yep. And then Buck Rogers too. Buck Rogers was good back in the day because honestly the women were gorgeous, and that's why you watched Buck Rogers, because the writing was the best.
Man.
Right, tweet.
Those are the best.
Excellent job.
So, Glenn, they're asking what ships are better than Star Wars or Star Trek?
Honestly, I'll probably gonna close another flame over this one. The Star Trek ships, you have phasers, you have shields, you have proton torpedoes, you have the warp drive. I honestly think, I think the Star Wars ships would trounce if there was a full one-on-one fleet battle. The Star Wars ships, the Death Star would take them out. Obviously, it's a planet killer, but ships, I think the Star Trek universe's ships would pretty much trounce the Star Wars ones. And there's YouTube videos that will kind of corroborate that for the most part. Star Destroyers, they do have shields, but they're kind of wimpy. And their guns
There's also
never
YouTube videos that say the planet's flat, so take that with a grain of salt.
Right. And the thing is, in Star Trek, they hit things. They have stormtroopers shooting, and other ones, they're shooting they're everywhere, and nothing ever gets hit.
Yeah, I don't get that.
I would just like to take this moment to say the thoughts and opinions of Glenn and Glenn's Retro Show do not encompass everybody that is on the Retro Buzz.
Amen.
Amen.
Just throwing that out there.
Make sure you put that out. Yeah. We don't want to get booted off of YouTube here.
No.
Let's see. We're going to wrap up here in a few minutes, guys. It's already 8 o'clock here. I gotta get some stuff uploaded. I gotta eat some dinner. I don't know if you guys ate dinner, but I'm like,
Food's good.
yeah. Do you guys get any final thoughts for Jim or anything? Please don't bring up Kathleen Kennedy. I don't want to get Glenn going for another 20 minutes yet.
But you're more than welcome to talk about.
Let's focus on
eagles.
Jim here for if you've got a question for him.
Oh, geez.
Stay away from Kathleen Kennedy. That's you can save that for next week.
There you go.
At Cool Toy, there's a question for you from Get Off My Lawn Gaming.
LGN? No, God no, not an LGN. This is a Blockbuster.
Oh,
Making
there
a
you go.
Blockbuster knife.
Nice.
There's still one in existence, believe it or not. There's still one
That was
blockbuster left in the world.
Alaska or Oregon or
I
something.
think it was Oregon. Yeah, it's like Oregon, but there's still one in existence. The Angry Video Game Nerd and his other channel, Cinemassacre, went out there, and it's still and it looks the part. It looks like it's still as it was. Pretty cool.
It means I got to return my movies there.
Yeah, we still got some. You can take them back.
You go up and then you got a $5,000 late fee that you got to pay.
Yeah.
But Jim, I'm really glad you came on. It was a very fun episode, even with my rants.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see.
And tell James Cameron to just recon that last film and make another good Terminator film. It should be God, what was that movie called? What was the one with the blue people that he did?
Avatar. He's doing Avatar.
Terminating Avatar. The Terminator goes to the Avatar planet. It starts like wiping the Navati out.
Hey, maybe you get lucky.
That would
He's
be great.
doing more sequels right now, so.
Yes.
Yeah, he's doing all of them right now at once. And he's been doing them for years now.
Yeah.
He was working on the scripts actually when he was doing the trench dive. That's how long that project's been going on. Oh yeah, long time.
Thanks, Scott.
Scott J says, "Great show, guys. Always a lot of fun."
Yeah.
Well, Glenn probably just prevented Jim from ever wanting to come back on again because he got into his Kathleen Kennedy debacle.
Yeah. Wouldn't be a show without it, though.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's what people tune in for, right?
Absolutely.
That's why I tune in.
Gotta hear her name one time a week.
There you go.
That's why Angel hangs on the phone. He's
Well,
like,
let's all pray for the day when she steps down and we don't have to talk about her anymore.
Or they fire her.
Yeah, that could be too.
So, do you have a link for Angel's information? Because I actually got my cabinet. I would like to get a marquee made for it.
Which cabinet do you have?
Oh, thank you.
I have one of the original asteroid ones. I don't want to get lit up one for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hit him up, Angel.
Just message me.
Yep.
I don't see it anywhere here on the screens or anything. So if you've got like a link,
I will send you the link.
Okay,
I'll
good deal.
take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
just
Assuming you
message me and
don't
I'll
unfriend
take
me
care of
after
it
the show.
I won't unfriend. Not after the show. I'm doing it right now.
See, I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Does it make a difference with Arcade 1-Up Jam being hardwire versus Wi-Fi?
Person by
I've been
person.
using it both ways.
Yeah.
I have
Case
not.
by case scenario, but if you're having problems with Wi-Fi, go hardwire. I mean.
Right.
It's not expensive. The dongle, because you can actually get it with the micro USB on it already. I've seen it as cheap as $5. The one I have here is like a $3 one I had years ago, and it works just fine. But I'm gonna be honest, I have a ton. I've talked about. I have like over 100 devices on Wi-Fi. I got tons of stuff, and it does play fine. I haven't noticed any issues. I still would just like have the option. Just better to have the option than not of having that hard line there as well.
Hey, Doug.
So you got more than 100 devices on Wi-Fi right now?
Yeah, I got cameras. I got Wemos. I got door sensors. I have a ton. You know what's that Wise? They got $30 cameras. They got a scale. The house, they're so cheap. My son hates me. It's like I can't go anywhere without a camera in my face or a sensor on a door just because I'm like, oh, this would be good here. Oh, cookie jar sensor. Do that too.
House.
It's not surprising. I think your brain is irradiated with 2.4 gigahertz. What it is.
Yep.
It probably is.
What he's got.
Yep.
That explains so much from him. Jim, you got the final
I'm
question.
only 27 years old. I mean, look at me.
Jim gets the final question here of the evening, and it's by Steven Cameron. He said, question for Jim. Weren't you making a tiny nano 1541 drive?
Yeah, it's called a micro drive. And actually, it was originally a micro 1541. And like everything I do, for some reason, I keep adding features and it becomes a convoluted mess of code. Yeah, I actually have it mostly done. I've got to finish the code for writing of files, but yeah, it's a little tiny cycle exact drive emulator. And so what I did, besides 1541, I can also emulate a tape drive. I can emulate the Tandy 102 drives, the little external drives. I can emulate a Atari 800 drive with a 1050 drive. All different devices in this little thing. That's why it's called micro drive now instead of being micro 1541. So that's one of the things that I'm finishing up right now. I'm doing the rest of the software for the writing of the FAT file system, because I write everything in assembly code, and so that's kind of a mess dealing with FAT file system. So that's what I'm doing right now with it. So yeah, hopefully I'll get that all finished, because I actually need that code for projects.
Everyone thinks in assembly code. I mean, come on, it's simple.
Yeah, it's funny. I've never been a C programmer, and so the Y modems that I did in C, for the very first time ever writing anything in C, and so I prefer assembly. It makes a lot more sense to me than C does. And I think I program faster than assembly than I do. But I've done some big assembly programs like PCX, the P simulator for the E586 for implant. Those were 1.7 million lines of assembly code, each one of them.
Oh my lord!
And then the Fusion PC, which is for the PC, that was 1.6 or 1.7 million lines of x86 assembly code too. So it's all. But I'm used to doing projects like that, and a lot of things that I do commercially for these other projects, I've got to do in assembly anyway, because otherwise you can't meet some restrictions. There's like DO 178B restrictions for doing software validation and stuff. You change a compiler, and you've got to re-certify everything. And so it's kind of a nightmare. So you're better off just using assembly and just, doing it. But that's why I love it. I've been doing assembly since 79 probably. So I'm used to it. I think that way. I think it's in ors and ands and stores, and that's how I deal with
I do basic. I can do basic.
I like basic.
Basic as far as I got.
Yeah, basic's good. Bill Gates to thank for that.
Yes, you got my money.
Yep.
All right,
Who knew
guys.
he would be behind the blue screen of death?
Yes.
We are going to kill the stream, guys. We will see you all next week.
Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good call. Yes, Thursday.
It's
We'll
going to be great, like a clean butter.
We'll see you guys next week.